Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Tuesday morning. Well, your Utah Jazz won. They beat the Chicago Bulls 80-63 in the Las Vegas Summer League. And if you think that's a low-scoring game, you're right. That's a very low-scoring game. Utah 12, Chicago 10 in the third quarter. If you're looking for the lowest of the low-scoring quarters, that would be it. There were no high-scoring quarters. And the Jazz did that without Ace Bailey playing, without Darren Peterson playing, without Cody Williams playing. So it really doesn't matter. I don't know how else to say it, but just the guys who did that aren't going to be on the team. Maybe a couple of them get two-way contracts, but we're not going to see those guys. Now, there is a parallel quote out there that does bring this issue front and center. Keyonte George saying the quality of the Jazz defense will shock people. Do you believe it? It's up on our Facebook page. If Keyonte is implying that the Jazz are going to play high-quality defense, and he says it will shock people, do you believe that? I do believe that high-quality Jazz defense will shock people. Is that the question? I believe it will absolutely shock people. The Jazz defense has been, just add one letter to shock. It has been schlock. It has been terrible. They have been in the bottom 5 in the league, depending on which category, which numbers you want to use. You can make the argument that they are the worst defense in the league. Now, that'll come with a big asterisk, as Tim Lacombe, the coach, 10-2 here on the zone, is fond of saying and told me many times, hey, the boss made the meeting optional. If it's optional, people aren't coming. And the Jazz made defense optional, and people weren't defending. That's Tim's point. And really, you can't argue with them. They were not defending, and it was optional. They were tanking games, and everybody knew it. Now, the question is, when a much higher quality of defense is expected, when there's got to be a lot more focus, when there's got to be a lot more effort, what are the odds that the Jazz can provide that, and they can perform at that level over a long period of time? TBD. Now, Keyonte thinks it's going to happen, and we're going to be shocked. I'll tell you right now, I would be impressed if they can turn the 30th best defense into the 15th. If they could get right to the middle, I'd be impressed, and I think that would make them a lot better. Now, if they had Kessler, and I realize that's not happening, but if they did, my expectation was that they would be top third, maybe top quarter. And there are people talking about top 5. That seems like a big ask. I'm open to it, but I wasn't expecting it. But I thought they had to get top third and could possibly get top quarter. They were going to have so much size, and they were going to have a legit shot-blocking center. Now, this team's going to be really different because obviously they don't have Kessler. He's in L.A. He's talking about how he'll run through a wall for the Lakers. Yeah, for that kind of money, you ought to. This is more, I assume Nurkic is going to play a lot. He's going to be more of an offensive presence. They still have a former defensive player of the year, and they still have pretty good size. But it is not as long, it's not as athletic a D team, and it's not going to be as imposing. And maybe they can still get top third in the league. And if they do, then that is a quality defense. And yes, it would shock people. And Keyonte thinks it's going to happen. I don't believe it's going to happen, but I do believe it would shock people if it happened. I absolutely think it would shock people. People would be pleasantly surprised. They would be pleasantly shocked. It's easy to say that now, and, optimism abounds at this time of year, so that's great. We'll see when we get there. We'll see. And then the perimeter guys have to do a much better job of getting in front of people. The people who can provide defense, the people I'd be intrigued about defending, Cody Williams can, but he provides so little else. I'm just not convinced he's going to be able to get on the floor. Darren Peterson can, for sure. Ace Bailey can. Keyonte, you're kind of the weak link. If you can do it, and I look at Keyonte and I look at Markkanen. Those are the two guys because Jaren Jackson Jr. has done it. I don't think Nurkic can. Bailey and Peterson should be able to do it. So back to Keyonte and Markkanen. There you go. That's where the question lies. And then the other people they plug in have to be good. And I think that's where Konchar and Svi have the upper hand as far as fighting their way into the rotation because they're veterans. They have defended. I wouldn't be surprised if we got a little better whistle. So, excuse me. I think that they've got a fighting chance based on defense. In fact, I don't think they need the ball to help the team because obviously these other guys are very skilled offensively and are going to need shots. So, all right, we'll talk more about this as the morning goes along. We'll take a break. When we come back, Real Salt Lake is back in action tomorrow night, and we will hear from the head coach, Pablo Mastroeni, with PK and I next. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Pablo Mastroeni joined us on Friday to look ahead to Real Salt Lake's game tomorrow night. They're going to be back in action Wednesday night against Burnley. The game will not be on the air here on the Zone, and there will be no stream. I think there have been some tweaks, and Pablo's actually going to talk about them, but they don't want those on tape. So, if you want to see it, you need to be at the game. Here's Pablo with PK and I on the Zone. Pablo, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Pablo, before we get to your team, it has been a World Cup break here, and I know you played in the World Cup, and you're emotionally invested in the team, and that had to be a big old kick in the teeth. Not just that they lost. I mean, they were always going to lose at some point, but they didn't go out battling the way Mexico did. They didn't go out scrapping and fighting the way Egypt did. Those two lost with dignity, and they entertained us while they lost. And sometimes when you battle like that, you're like Switzerland, and you get the penalties, and you win and you advance. Instead, they got drilled. And I'm thinking that everyone's worried about the third goal, which was a whole horrendous goalkeeping mistake. But when that first goal drops between three U.S. players, the ball drops and no one reacts, and one other guy steps up and crosses it in front and it's a tap-in, I'm thinking you lost your mind because I've heard you talk about goals like that, and they kill you.
Yeah. I think that first goal kind of encapsulates the way the whole game went, which was on both sides of the ball, we were like one step behind, and again, I think there's moments in games that kind of highlight where your mentality is, right? And you saw three guys not going for the ball on that one play, but you had one Belgian guy that was daring and brave enough to step through. And it kind of like that moment, I think that player for Belgium really set the tone from a mentality perspective as to how we're going to be on the front foot. And the three U.S. players kind of looking up in the air and thinking the other guy was going to do it kind of is metaphorically saying, I'm not going to take responsibility for this. You do it, you do it, you do it. And I think that was kind of the disappointing part of the game, and I think the other part too is, and we talked about this a little bit, all three host countries, they got great draws as far as their group play. And to be fair, the one game where U.S. was going to always be tested was going to be Turkey. And then they played a different group. And so there wasn't a whole lot to extrapolate from the group play as to when they encounter a really good team, right? And then Bosnia, obviously a team that squeaked into the World Cup. That was a good draw for the U.S. as well. And I think all three games that the U.S. won, they played a certain way, and they forced our opponents to play a certain way. When you get to the tougher stages, you're not going to dictate to Argentina, to Brazil, to the big clubs, the big countries. They have a style of play that you have to also be aware of. And so I think we caught Belgium on a day where they were motivated, and obviously the Mulligan situation, I think, added fire to their belief. And they had something bigger to play for. And, I think the U.S. just started the game off in a really kind of doubtful way. And it permeated through the rest of the 90 minutes. And I think that's where you're saying, we kind of fell flat. And so it's a tough way to go out. I think there's a ton of bright spots that, after the emotional pain kind of subsides, there's a lot of really bright spots for the U.S. national team, some individual players, and really the direction that we need to move in to continue to be a really good World Cup team.
So you say you started the game in a doubtful way, and that jumps out at me. So that sounds like if a team does that, it's basically the situation could be where they're beat before they even start. So how do you get that, even if you have to trick yourself that you're not in that doubtful way and you're dealing it from a position of confidence?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think The easiest way to do that, I think, is it's not going to be with the ball. It's going to be against the ball, because I think that moment, I think what oftentimes ignites a team is a great defensive tackle, is something that's questionable, where the ref is maybe giving a yellow card to you because you were really, really aggressive. And now it kind of revs the engines up a little bit, like it heightens your senses. And I just felt like too often from a defensive standpoint, we were either, pressing when we shouldn't have been, or we were kind of caught in between players, and it was Belgium, and to be fair, Belgium did a great job where they knew that the U.S. wanted to press. So Belgium would bait them all the way back to their goalkeeper. They'd move their whole lines forward. And then Belgium said, we're not going to fall for this. We're going to go over your back line. And there hadn't been a team in the World Cup that had threatened the back line. And now you see a player like Tim Ream, who, again, had a fantastic World Cup. But when you're up against speedsters that also have great quality and balls in behind, and you're running now back to your goal to defend, it's asking a lot of questions. So I would say how you get back into it is a moment where the fan base gets involved, right? Whether it's a great attacking play and, the guys that are throwing their arms up in the air, like follow us, or it's a great defensive play where as a group you're saying, this is the moment, this is where we put our flag in the ground. This is it. You're coming to here, and then from there on, you're going to get bit. You're going to get, you're going to catch a foot. But there wasn't really a moment of that could change the game at any point. And I think that's why we kind of went along with the momentum that Belgium was playing at.
Okay, so a story, a problem, and then I'll ask you for the answer. The story is a hilarious Brian Dunce's story, which he tells much better than I'm about to. But he talks about how when he was a kid and these youth national setups and that kind of deal, they'd all do the training and watch the film, and it was really hard work and the hardest thing they'd ever been up against, right? And then they'd finally have time to kind of bond as a group and go to the mall or whatever. And they'd be walking out, and there'd be one kind of weird kid in the group who was over there juggling or doing some little drill with cones or whatever. He says, yeah, that weird kid, he grew up to be Landon Donovan and score like 57 goals for the U.S. national team. And Dunny would laugh like, yeah, we all missed the boat. It was the million touches that he got that we didn't, that made him special, and we weren't. And I hear people talk about the U.S. will be good in soccer when they have the best athletes. But I think it's about getting the bazillion touches so you can make the ball do whatever you want. That goal Mbappe scored in the quarterfinal, he couldn't see the goal. The defender was there. He bends the ball around the defender and hits the post, and it goes in. And he knew it. He was celebrating before it happened because he's had those million touches as a kid. We have 30 academies now where anybody can play for free, but mostly it's pay for play. Until we have 300 academies. I know it's a nation of 350 million people, but we're not really scouring 350 million people for 11 soccer players. I mean, right. We're not. So is there another path, or do there have to be? I don't know that there was an academy anywhere near Thunderbird High for you and PK. You somehow made it through, but I mean, doesn't it have to be an academy on the west side of Phoenix, on the east side, and not just one, halfway between Tucson and Phoenix out in the middle of nowhere in Casa Grande?
No, that's actually a great question, and I can actually answer it from a personal perspective, and really interesting. So I had a club coach. His name was Luis Dabo, and he came from. He was born in Guinea-Bissau, played professionally in Portugal, played at a really, really high level. Then he got into coaching in indoor soccer in the MISL. And then he ended up in Arizona coaching youth soccer. And he had a philosophy that was way ahead of its time. And he took a lot of the Portuguese philosophy for developing young players, which is exactly what you're talking about, which is touches. So every day for the first hour of training, we had a 2-hour training session Monday through Thursday as kids. The first hour was you and your ball. And so it was left foot, right foot. It was trapping. It was kicking the ball up in the air to yourself, bringing it down, trapping, changing your speed. And then we got into passing. And then it was like two guys up one ball, creating movements. And you had to do this all within the center circle of a soccer field, right? So it's not the biggest space. And there could be up to like 40 people in there at any one time. And so you're working your passing technique, you're working your dribbling technique for the first hour inside that circle. As kids, it was the most boring, mundane. It was the worst. It was the worst, right? Because we all want to shoot. We all want to play. We don't really want to work on our technique. But he did it. And the amount of kids that would leave the club is incredible. They said, no, we're going to this other club. And they'd go to the other club. But what was amazing, within 1 year, they would always be back. And the whole thing was because our team started to get, we weren't good when we were young, but as we got to 15, we got to 16, we got to 17, we ended up going to the national tournament. And I think we finished second in nationals as an under 17 youth team. And it wasn't because tactically we were astute. As a matter of fact, he never coached tactics. The only thing he'd coach is individual one-on-ones, individual technique. And that made, and I think from our club team, we sent, I think, 12 players to Division I schools across the country. And this is 1994, right? And it didn't matter what position you played, because if you can control the ball, if you understood where to pass the ball, if you understood how to manipulate this thing, the college coach could say, we need a left back, or we need a midfielder, or we need a winger. It didn't matter. We were all capable of doing that. And so I think what you're explaining, what you're talking about, is exactly the philosophy of the youth coach I had. But the problem with that is he didn't care about winning games. And now when people pay to play, they care about winning, right? The parents live vicariously through their kids, and they say they want to be able to go to the barbecue at the weekend and be like, oh, we won 4-0. And it's not like Travis won 4-0. It's we won 4-0, you know? And so I think there's it's a huge cultural thing where, and now this generation of parents are super involved, where back when I was growing up, my parents would drop me off at soccer and that was it. Or I got a ride with someone to soccer, or I went with another family to tournaments. It's not like that anymore. And so the involvement of the parents, I think, is a big issue with that. And the other part too is, if you pay, you want to win. And that's winning at a young age is synonymous with my money's worth it. It's not about developing young players. And then the other part to this, and sorry, this is so long-winded, but the coaching piece is every coach at the youth level wants to be a Premier League coach. So the first thing they're coaching is tactics. How do we beat this under 18? Because they're going to be a swarm of bees in the middle of the field. So how do we align ourselves, along the outside and make them run and then attack the goal, right? It's not. So my point is that the most important thing is the story about Landon, which is 1 million touches. And the environment and the culture that exists today in soccer in America doesn't provide 1 million touches. And so unless you're going to be the odd guy that's out there juggling on your own when everyone else is going to the mall, it's going to be very hard to get to that level. And so, but I think, so I don't know what the answer is, DJ, but I hear you. I lived it. And it was one of the reasons why I was able to move on in my career, because I played 1 million different positions. But one thing I always had was a good control of the ball and a good understanding of how to manipulate it.
Well, that was deep, Pablo. So here I come. Do you think the U.S. coach looked like Russell Crowe, like I did?
Yeah, I thought so too. That's what we call him, the Argentinian Russell Crowe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was calling him. And he wore the same costume every game, which was pretty. He played the part every game.
I did tell my wife at one point, he looks like a high school art teacher. He looks like he should. Ceramics on Tuesday, kids.
And then he turned into Russell Crowe when he kicked the water bottle. So that was the action part.
Yeah, excellent. All right, well, the World Cup will go on without the United States here. It'll be over soon, and Major League Soccer will be back at it. You've got a game Wednesday with Burnley, a little tune-up game here to get you going. And I think that the challenge in front of you, and you know this well, I won't recount all the numbers. Last year, after the League's Cup break, the team had been playing really well, and then they lost 5 out of 6. And I won't recount all the numbers going back, but that's not the first summer that's happened where you were flying spring, early summer, you have a break, and you never recapture the magic. So I know you know all those numbers, and you probably know them better than I do, and I'm sure you're trying something different this year so the team keeps playing the way it was because, again, you were having a really good run. What are you doing so this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, I think we have a good snapshot of the first first third of the season where we were able to now go, these are the things that we're doing well. These are the areas we struggled in, and we talked about it. Set pieces has been an area. We revamped our defensive set piece setup. So that's been, and we put it on display at this a couple days ago in Minnesota, which is really good. The other part is one of the areas is how do we manage games? Not just, again, with leads, without leads, when it's 0-0, is like how do we manage games and create control? Where I thought a lot of the good games we played, we had a lot of great control. But then when we had the lead, it felt like we were just ceding a lot of territory and really relying on Hoffa to be the guy that solved the problems closer to our goal, which was great when it worked. But when it didn't, we gave our opponents a lot of territory. And so, again, that was something that we saw from, the last month of work here in Minnesota, which was really good. And I think those two things are really the biggest things. We've conceded close to 40% of our goals from set pieces, right? So that obviously, if the numbers are, if we didn't concede any set piece goal in the first part, we'd be 6 points ahead in the table, in the league, right? So that's an area that if we don't address, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So, and then the control piece and continuing to think about how we can be a more fluid attacking team, continue to create great opportunities. And again, we just went to Minnesota. We put 4 in the back of the net in we played 3 45-minute periods. So that part's good. So there's a lot of things that are the work is kind of showing through, but I think this Burnley game will be a great test for us. Obviously, a team that's has been playing at a much higher level. Obviously, different players probably from the time they're in the Prem, but it'll be a great challenge for us and a game where we can continue to fine tune the different areas of the game that we're working on.
During this past few weeks and so forth, what was required of the guys in terms of a schedule?
Yeah, to be fair, the guys have been all in when, we gave them 3 weeks off, and then we were in, 5 days a week and usually gave the guys 2 days off. But again, I think it was just being really deliberate of like, do we want to be a top team in this league? And if it is, then there's no substitute for working hard and being deliberate about the work that you're doing. And the guys have been all in, and we've made the sessions to where it's not the tactics are actually a part of the exercise. It's kind of built in, and then we've been doing video sessions to recap, and the guys have been all in. And the one thing I would say, PK, is you never know how guys are going to come back from break, but they were all fit, they were all hungry. And again, for me, the proof is always in the game. You can talk about the environment and training and all these things, but are you seeing the things that you want in the game? Are they playing with excitement? Are they playing hard for each other? And those things were on full display a couple days ago. So I think it's been a great reset for us to identify those areas. But more importantly, the guys have just taken it on. And like I always talk about, great teams are led by the players and they're guided by the coaches. And that's what it feels like at the moment.
Burnley was in the English Premier League. They got relegated, so now they'll be in the championship here this coming season. And I've heard Garth Lagerwey has gotten involved with that club, former Real Salt Lake general manager back when they won the Cup in 2009. Have you talked much with Garth? Was he part of putting this together? What's his role with Burnley? Can you answer any of those questions, Pablo?
All I can answer is I think you're right about the Garth Lagerwey being involved. I know Jason Kreis was instrumental in making this game happen. And he's got a really good relationship with Garth. So that would be a great question for Jason as to the details of how all that happened.
Yeah.
All right, here's my contribution. I'm going to read you some song lyrics.
Uh-oh.
Hey, all you Chiefs, come on and fight. We've got the team with all the might. We've got the score. We'll get some more. We'll get the victory in our sight. Hey, all you Chiefs, we are the best in all the North, South, East, and West. We are the team that runs with speed and fame, and that's why Thunderbird will win this game. That's our fight song.
The crazy thing is, I remember parts of that. That's crazy.
So I remember. Since you went to Thunderbird High School and PK went to Thunderbird High School and I didn't, I just have to time travel to, well, you went in different decades. I have to time travel to the different decades you were there. Basically, should I just picture myself in Minnesota listening to those fans sing Wonderwall? Was it pretty much the same thing, Pablo?
It wasn't the same thing. It was much more. It's hard to explain, DJ. One of these days, the three of us should all meet back at Thunderbird High, and there's a little mountain at the top with a big T. You know how they do those. You know, they paint the mountain.
Right over by the tennis courts.
Is that like the hill they climb at ASU football games to watch for free?
Yeah, we have
same
a
deal
right there.
Do people climb those to watch Thunderbird games for free? Is it the same deal?
They can actually walk into the little stadium.
Yeah, I was going to say there wasn't that much of a demand for tickets.
All right, Pablo.
But the baseball field was right along Thunderbird Road, and so when we were out there many times, usually just in practice because there were no fans, you'd get kids from other schools that would drive by, particularly if they're going west, so the passengers are there. You suck, you're awful. Well, we used to get that all the time.
That's good stuff.
All right. Well, thanks for the lyrics, PK. I'm now looking at Google Maps, and I can see the road that zigs right around the baseball field. PK's told me all about
Thunderbird.
it. Yeah, Thunderbird High.
Yeah.
All right, those are the days. All right, Pablo, Wednesday night, Real Salt Lake back at it at home against Burnley, and then give it another week, and you'll be off and running. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Always fun.
There's Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach, RSL, and Burnley from the English Championship, just relegated out of the Premier League. Tomorrow night, 7:30 at America First Field. All right, DJ and PK, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Mitch Harper, BYU insider for KSL Sports, joins us next. Stay with us. DJ, PK, and we're joined by Mitch Harper, BYU insider for KSL Sports. Mitch, good morning. Welcome back from Big 12 Media Days.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Happy to be on with you today.
Mitch, when does BYU do it? When do they just follow in Jarrah Jones' footsteps and build their own Ford Center, their own 12,000, 10,000-seat dome? All the high school games in there, Lone Peak on Thursday, Timpview on Friday, a Saturday triple header. That's the way they do it in Texas. When does it happen?
It's a great idea. BYU, that's one thing that I've been kind of surprised with BYU is that they've never had their own, football command center similar to what Utah has. They always had that student athlete building for the practice side and football ops, but they kind of need a football operations center, and having their own indoor football facility would be probably great because then you could add revenue, but that seems like something that would probably be on the back page for BYU, especially with facilities now in college sports. It seems like it's all about just finding as much revenue to add it to the rosters.
What's the update on Parker Kingston?
Parker Kingston, nothing's really changed. When that case got dismissed and now he's, a free man, innocent, reached out to BYU for a comment on that, and they had no comment at all. They didn't even decline comment. They just didn't respond. So nothing's really changed on that front, with Parker Kingston. I'd be surprised if, he was at BYU playing football, but no new information on that situation. I think what makes it challenging too is that if he was to ever be back at BYU, that case could be refiled. And I know that the state has said that it would be refiled. And I remember talking to legal analysts with KSL, Greg Scortis. They believe that, it was going to be refiled quickly, and it hasn't been refiled yet. But, if there was a situation where he's on the team and then it gets refiled, that would be kind of a difficult situation there for BYU. So nothing's really changed on that front. And so right now he's still, no longer part of the university, no longer a student, no longer part of the football team.
He would face honor code sanctions. There had been references to Retzlaff's situation, and we know he had a suspension and chose not to take it, and goes to Tulane and plays immediately. It seems like with the threat of possible refiling, that potentially prevents him from playing for anywhere then, right?
Yeah, it would feel like that. And also, too, the ghost transfer rules now with the NCAA that basically kind of got created after the Retzloff situation. And look, any NCAA rule could obviously get an injunction, get thrown in court, and probably get thrown out. But if a school adds someone outside the portal window because he never entered the portal during the portal window in January, that school could face the head coach being suspended up to 6 games and get a multi-million-dollar fine from the NCAA by adding players outside of the portal window as ghost transfers. And in addition, like Kingston, who really good football player last year, that would garner headlines. And then you add in the fact that what he was facing off the field as to what would cause that. I'd be pretty surprised. And again, that refiling element is tricky. And what's difficult too for him, because again, he's an innocent man here on all of this right now with it being dismissed. This is his 5th year. So the 5-5 potentially wouldn't apply to him because he already used a redshirt year in 2022. And then this would be his 5th year that would then expire his eligibility. So very, very difficult situation all around.
There's been a lot of talk about what the BYU receiver group looks like now. What does it look like to you right now?
They're going to have to rely on those freshmen to come in and perform at a high level. And, the expectation is that wide receiver 1 is going to be JoJo Phillips going in. But I think that's something that could be a moving target in the season. Someone else could emerge, and maybe it's Kyler Casper, the Oregon transfer. But the wild card in this unit is the freshman, and particularly Legend Glasgow, who will probably take on that Parker Kingston role this year. And he emerged in spring ball as someone that was already trending towards being a starter, and it wouldn't shock me at all if he's starting this season and they expect, big things from him. Even Bear Bachmeier at Big 12 Media Day noted that Legend already knows the playbook inside and out, and that's one of the reasons he was getting a lot of first-team snaps in spring ball. So Legend Glasgow, and then, I think the one that really could be interesting is Jaron Pula, the heralded freshman from Lone Peak High School, was once a UCLA commit. Then he flipped to Utah, then to BYU. Kind of a long, windy road in the recruiting trail. Those 2 guys in particular, I think they need them to hit instantly this year because I think that they feel good about, JoJo Phillips and Casper, but those guys to me seem more like, at best, maybe a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 right now. I mean, look, last year at this time, we didn't know about Kingston being potentially a wide receiver 1 type guy, maybe a byproduct of also having Chase Roberts to get a lot of attention. But Kingston emerged and became a star, but they don't have a Roberts or a Kingston anywhere close to that in this receiver unit. And it's a big question for this team. Like the talent's intriguing, but just no one's performed consistently to make you feel confident about wide receiver 1, 2, or 3 heading into fall camp in a few weeks.
You already mentioned 2 or 3 newcomers, a couple of freshmen, and then a transfer. How about some other new faces?
I think some of the new faces on this team that are going to be interesting. Paki Finau, left tackle for BYU, and he's going to anchor that left tackle spot. And, the offensive line is interesting this year because they brought in a bunch of transfers from the transfer portal, and Finau will probably be the most impactful one right away. Some of the other guys, Zach Yamauchi from Stanford, he got injured in spring ball. So he's really never taken many snaps to where you kind of have a point of reference of what he can provide on this O-line. Junior Sia from Utah State was primarily an offensive tackle with the Aggies. He's going to play right guard for BYU, but he's expected to be probably a second teamer in behind Sonny Mocassini, a returning veteran. And then, BYU's got Paki Finau, who primarily played guard at Washington. He's always been an interior offensive lineman. So he's kicking out to left tackle, and they like him there. But I think going back to the freshman piece with some of the wide receivers, there's intriguing young offensive linemen that in a perfect world would allow for BYU to kick Paki Finau in at guard and then have some of these freshmen emerge at offensive tackle, say a Bot Molitalo, who was from Lone Peak, a top 100 recruit, once committed to Oregon, or even a Siosia Latu Finau, who was, heavily recruited by Stanford and Cal, committed to BYU in the 2025 cycle. Guys like that are really talented players that they feel could be talented players potentially. Maybe they emerge as like tackles, but Bot Molitalo is one that I'll be intrigued to see how he continues to develop in fall camp. But Finau is going to be the one that's probably the most impactful newcomer, protecting that blind side for Bear Bachmeier. But again, I think as far as his best position out along that offensive line, it's a guard, because that's what he's primarily played his whole career. They like him at left tackle, but it's a new position for him. So there's not many game snaps for him at that spot. If you want to get the best five possible, which is something that, BYU's staff with A-Rod and TJ Woods have talked about, I think that would be, kind of intriguing to see if that could, kind of materialize where some of those young guys emerge and creates an opportunity for maybe to get that best five, to get them in their true positions along that offensive line.
All that time at the Star in Dallas, what did you learn about any of these other teams? And is there anybody else you came away really impressed with and thinking they could be good? Or did you come away thinking usual suspects, everybody knew what to think coming in, and we all think the same thing walking out?
I think a team that's going to be, really intriguing that, and maybe PK will appreciate this, but I think Arizona State, I wish there would have been a little bit more of an emphatic victory at the quarterback position with Cutter Boley in that quarterback battle. He's a transfer from Kentucky. But I just really trust Kenny Dillingham that Arizona State is becoming a consistent winner now. I think it kind of gets a little bit overlooked of, how, pretty competitive they were despite a lot of injuries, a lot of, different lineups last season. They still put together, I think it was an 8 or 9 win season on the heels of the playoffs. And look, they still underachieved compared to where people expected them. But, I remember years where, you go to the Rose Bowl with Plummer and then you dip to like 5-6 with, Bruce Snyder. And it was always kind of like this erratic up and down type of deal with Arizona State. I feel like they're becoming steady. And I think, BYU's steady. Texas Tech's going to be steady with all their recruiting. And Utah's always going to be in the mix. And I think Utah's schedule sets up really well. So I just really like Arizona State. I love their portal class. A guy like Ashton Stamps, so there's some buzz on him, a cornerback from LSU. He's going to be really good for them. I even put him as a first-team All-Big 12 selection on my ballot. But I just like it. I like ASU. I like Dillingham. I think he's ASU's modern-day Frank Kush, and I think that he's going to be I think he's going to continue to win. I mean, he turned down Michigan. Kalani was a huge story last week with the Penn State stuff. I don't think the Dillingham thing with Michigan was as big of a conversation, but, he turned them down. He stays at ASU, and I think they're built to stay the long haul. So it wouldn't shock me if ASU was in the upper tier. I think another team that I'm kind of intrigued by is UCF. I think UCF, because in the old Pac-12, Alex Grinch was a punchline. But actually that defense last year when Scott Frost hired Alex Grinch, the former USC coordinator, who's now at UCF, they were actually pretty good defensively, especially in their pass defense. And I think they'll be good once again with their secondary. And now they've got a competent quarterback, the JMU transfer, Barnett, and I think they got some good running backs as well. UCF, to me, could be kind of intriguing. Maybe they get in that 7 to 8 range, which would be a huge maybe surprise, I think, compared to where people think they're probably in the bottom 4 spots in the league.
Yeah, I think that Dillingham models himself as not the modern version of Frank Kush, the modern version of Kyle Whittingham. And why I say that is because Kyle seemed to always operate best when he was underlooked or overlooked, I guess the expression would be, a little bit, maybe under-respected. And it seems to me that the Devils are kind of right there now. Phil Steele doesn't even have them in their top 45, 50, and guys that do this and really have a lot of name recognition for what their predictions are. And we'll see how it plays out. The potential is there. It could be 6-6, or maybe 9-3. We'll see somewhere in between. We'll see what happens. But I think he's kind of laying low in the weeds there, like Kyle did for so many years, and then jumps up and bites you. And I know he's talked openly about modeling his program after Kyle, so we'll see what happens. And we know for BYU, their center's Bruce Mitchell, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Can he play center on the basketball team too?
Seriously, that would be a welcomed addition just to bring some resolution to this roster. But yeah, I mean, BYU, the search continues, and I kind of got the sense it was going to go this direction this late. When I talked to Kevin Young in May at the spring meetings, he basically put it out there that they will wait till the bitter end to get guys. As late as they need to go, that could stretch in October because this market with the centers, I think that they really want to have. They don't want to just throw money blindly at someone who's just a 7-footer. He's only had two points, 3 rebounds, and because that's what's happened this cycle is that there's been a lot of overpays for guys that have really no production, but they're 7 feet, and programs are overpaying because it would seem that the Final Four schools and all the top level teams, they've got true 7-footers more than ever now. But obviously with the center position, BYU's missed on some guys, and even Kevin Young's noted that some of the players they've been supposedly linked to maybe not as accurate as what's been put out there. But Kevin Young, I think they will find someone. They have to. And look, I think the last bucket to turn to will be maybe potentially the players that get an injunction with the 5 and 5. Because there's going to have to be some sort of option because they just don't have the personnel enough to feel like you're going to exceed that 6 seed kind of purgatory that they're in. I mean, BYU is good enough to be a 6 seed next year with the roster they've got. And I think the Big 12 is going to be a little bit weaker next season in basketball, at least just kind of way too early forecast on it. But it still feels like if you're going to make a second weekend run, be a top 16 seed, you've got to have some bigs. And outside of Hadim Boop and Adam Stewart, the TCU walk-on transfer who's played like 4 minutes in 2 years, they don't really have it. So it's concerning. Kevin Young, I think he embraces the possibility of creating a lineup that could be, maybe be able to overcome the shortcomings on the front court right now, but they got to add some bigs. And some of these, pursuit of potential reclassified high school guys show that they know they needed at least one center, at least one. I think they probably need 2, but yeah, I just think this is going to continue to stretch on for quite some time. I mean, we might get September and October, and they're still pursuing one till the very bitter end, because that's what really Kevin Young laid out is what they plan to do. They will wait to the bitter end because he feels like there was no rush to have this roster finalized in the summer, because they had that last year, and it kind of fell flat by having the roster all together. So he feels like no rush to get it all finalized right now.
Wait till NBA cutdown day.
That's a great point. Hey, look, watching Summer League, I'm like, maybe there's some guy out there right now that you can bring back to the college ranks. That's how crazy it is these days.
You really think they're a 6 seed without any of the bigs that we assume they're going to add, or that we think they need to add? Because that seemed
shooting will be better.
That seemed pretty high end, even allowing for the shooting to be better, as PK says. 6 seed seemed pretty high end to me. Not that I know anything any more than anybody else. So maybe I'm just too low. But you think 6?
I think they can because Rob Wright. They project him to be the best point guard in college basketball. Look, it's got to play out. But as PK said, I think the shooting will be better. I think Colin Chandler is going to be a great fit. I'm really curious to see what Jake Wallin, the Clemson transfer, formerly of Timpview High, Utah as well. He's someone that I think they're going to. He's kind of an interesting guy where the whole player development piece with Kevin Young, what he did with Richie Saunders. I don't expect Wallin to be a Richie Saunders type jump, but I think that's what gives the optimism for maybe BYU fans and this BYU team that they could be better than expected is because guys like him have been in this Kevin Young program and they have gotten better. Now there are other examples from last year, case in point, where some of these role guys, they just didn't hit any shots, and it was a mess at season's end outside of AJ and Rob Wright. But I just think that there's going to be there's going to be better chemistry with this team. And I think also too, there's a lot of guys that they wanted to be at BYU beyond just simply, the paycheck or the spotlight of being around an AJ, being around a Rob Wright. They wanted to be at BYU. And, I think the guys that were retained, even like a Hadim Boop, who could be that starting five potentially if we're looking at it right now, they wanted to be at BYU. And Kevin Young really likes Hadim Boop, his aggressiveness on the glass. They even compared him to a Dennis Rodman type player, how he can just absorb rebounds. Kevin Young loves those NBA comps. But I just think there's a good maybe camaraderie with this team right now, and I think the shooting will be better. I think the style of play is going to be a lot more up and down, and that half-second decision-making that Kevin Young loves in those offenses, I think it's going to look a lot more like 2 years ago with spreading that ball around and making Rob Wright a focal point of this team, and then Colin Chandler, as KY notes, the flag bearer of the BYU program and being kind of the face of BYU and what it's all about. So I think they got a nice blend on the roster. And I think, again, having guys that again, want to be at BYU, I think that's important too, and kind of bringing that chemistry together and fast-tracking that for this team going forward in the next year. So I still think their schedule, we know with these advanced metrics sometimes that you get into the Big 12, if you win some home games, protect home court, which is always a good place for BYU, they'll probably be sitting in that top 30 range of predictive ratings, have a competitive non-conference schedule, get a few wins. They'll be right there in that 6 to 8 seed territory. But I think on the high end, they could be a 6 seed still again, because I just think that this team's going to have better offensive firepower than last season.
All right, there is Mitch Harper. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
Now at McDonald's, get a $5 McChicken meal deal or a $6 McDouble meal deal. They come with small fries, a soft drink, and 4-piece McNuggets. We're going to need a bigger tray. Get more value with your meal deal with McValue.
Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
He's a big, goofy dude that just enjoys life and has fun. Obviously you see what he does basketball-wise, how he impacts the game, how he's good defensively, good in the pocket, and just a smart player. So happy, to have him on the team and, get to work.
That is the Lakers' Austin Reeves describing his new teammate, Walker Kessler. People are going to follow Kessler and wonder about what they lost, PK. It's the Lakers. Hard to ignore him. We don't usually ignore the Lakers. Or he wasn't here that long enough. He didn't play enough games, and he just kind of moves on. Doesn't make it's not a big deal to the fan base.
I'm going to miss the big lug.
And why is that?
Because he's a big lug.
There are no medium-sized lugs or
kind
small
of a goofy
lugs.
guy, but, it depends on what they have as replacements and how well they play. If they win 55 games, you missed out, Walker. If they win 43 and are struggling and allowing teams to shoot in the high 40s, well, yeah, you could have used him, and you really miss him. You could use him either way. So I think he was here long enough and, cheered on the players when he didn't play last year. He went on road trips he didn't have to go on.
Sweet.
Man, that tells you the quality of character of our guys. Now he's a bum. He'll probably miss games even when he's healthy because he just doesn't want to go, because once you leave here, you're low quality, but when you're here, you're high quality.
Quality drops off dramatically at the state line.
All 4 points.
You hit Wendover, Mesquite, yeah, quality's dropping.
Well, you don't even have to get to Mesquite because
Myrtle.
you first get to Arizona.
The Arizona Strip.
Yeah, that is. We were on the Arizona border, not the Nevada border, at the south end, southwestern end. And so, I think they have an opportunity to miss him, and I think most people liked him. So yeah, why not? I mean, he was here 4 years. They retired guys' jerseys who were here 6.
That's a true story. Walker says he's ready to run through a wall for the Lakers after being traded.
Brady's going to get hurt again then.
$30 million contract. That probably would hurt him. Jazz sat out Darren Peterson, Cody Williams, and Ace Bailey. They beat the Bulls 80-63. Caleb Wilson led Chicago with 19 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks. Jazz guard Trey Alexander left on a stretcher. The 80-63 game.
That was weird. It didn't look like it was stretcher quality,
yeah.
But he obviously was in pain.
Yeah.
He just got bumped, it seems. Seems something you've seen a million times. I don't know what happened there, but that crazy. I mean, I don't doubt that he was hurt because he certainly looked like. First, you're thinking, the wind's knocked out of him, maybe a rib, and next thing you know, they're putting him on the thing and wheeling him out.
See if we hear later today exactly what's going on there.
Call me, would you?
Okay. Keep it dialed to the zone. I'm sure whoever gets the news will break it when it happens. Maybe it'll be us before 10. Stuff like that tends to happen about 10:05 right before we get off the air, though.
I think it's okay, though, as long as the guy's healthy. I'm not worried about us. I think we'll be all right either way.
Jazz are off tonight. Play the Spurs tomorrow night. DJ and PK.
#NFL.
He told the team that he wanted to go there, work out, see how he felt, see how he reacted, see everything that went along with being back in pads on the football field, and seeing how it made him feel. Now, I don't know what he told him about that after he went through those workouts at the facility, but I really think it was just a trial method to see how his whole body reacted, how his mind reacted to being back out there.
That's ESPN's Adam Schefter talking about Aaron Donald working out with the Rams recently. He has not signed yet. There's been speculation about him coming out of retirement to play and chase one more Super Bowl for a team that was close but came up a little short against the Seahawks in the NFC title game. Obviously, they've made multiple moves to improve their defense, which was the major sticking point for them last year.
Obviously.
Baker Mayfield said he dealt with injuries throughout last season as Tampa Bay slumped to 8-9, sprained the MCL and the PCL ligaments, and had a bone bruise in his knee. Bicep tendon injuries in his throwing arm, re-aggravated the bone bruise, and finally suffered an AC joint injury in his shoulder. Clearly expects to be healthier and win more this year. We always hear guys are playing through injuries, so that always tough. I wonder if players hear that and think, that's a lot, or if players hear that and think, he's talking about it, he shouldn't do it. It's not the NFL code. Just get healthy and go give it a shot next year. Everybody's got injuries. Wonder what players think when they hear that.
Well, you have to see how the body progresses during the course of the season. Compounded with what he's had, so you see how is he feeling physically, how are they, whomever he might be, they are at that point, because I think many guys are in that situation, and some are more serious than others.
Former Eagles and Jaguars coach Doug Peterson said he believes the Raiders should start Fernando Mendoza right away rather than having him sit behind veteran Kirk Cousins.
Well, if you want Fernando Mania Part 2, 45 years later, you have to.
Star athletes named Fernando. Have we just peaked? Valenzuela, Mendoza, that's it? Any other big Fernandos out there?
I'll leave it to you. You're a soccer boy.
Quarterback Terrion Arnold, who is facing multiple felony charges, has worked out for the Houston Texans. He's eligible to sign a new deal as he awaits his hearing after being cut by the Detroit Lions last month. He reportedly has garnered interest from the Jets, Seahawks, and Colts, as well as the Texans. Imagine they're all waiting to see how those charges, they get dismissed. Is he going to trial? What's going on? DJ and PK.
#Major League Baseball.
That is Jordan Walker winning the home run derby. He outslugs Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber, of course, the hometown hero. The All-Star game, All-Star week here is in Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. But the Cardinal, Jordan Walker, already he's making like $800,000. He gets $1 million bonus for winning that. Look at him go.
He's making $799,000.
Don't round it up.
And the winner gets $1 million. The loser, second place, $5K, and $500K, and $150, and then $100K for the fourth place. But yeah, I watched the whole thing. Best home run derby I've ever seen.
Got sent down as recently as last year, and now he's an all-star.
Right, he's 24 years old, but so he bombed it away, spoke on the need to get more American blacks to play baseball. I think that's been a ongoing issue for 30, 40 years. It was back when I was in Los Angeles and I was covering high schools, and my assignment was LA City, which included all the South Central schools, and talked to coaches, black coaches. We used to have 50 guys come out for baseball, and by the time I left in 93, 20. I mean, it was a major, major issue. And we see it. The numbers reflect it. And it's sad because in the 60s and 70s and before, after they broke the color line, the American black player was an integral part, and so many of them were awesome. Hall of Fame. My father, a big fan of Monty Irvin in the for the Newark Eagles, where he grew up. So I don't know that one single thing is going to move the needle to the extent to get it back, but they have opportunities. It's so expensive with travel ball and everything these days. You see why they turn to the other sports.
Where's the next Willie Mays? Where's the next Hank Aaron? Where's the next Bob Gibson? On and on, right? Yeah.
Frank Robinson. I mean, it is, legends of the game, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All-Star games tonight, 5 o'clock. The game is on Fox. Philadelphia Phillies start
6.
Oh, so pregame at 5. They're going to yak for an hour and then play?
They did with the home run derby.
Said 5 o'clock. I looked it up this morning, so you could be right.
Yeah, I think the first pitch is
6 o'clock.
In the 6 o'clock hour.
Broadcast at 5. 6 o'clock for the first pitch.
I started to watch some of the pregame.
Yeah.
Because I was out, and my daughter did the next Netflix thing, which I think it's a tragedy to have it on Netflix. That's just me. Now, my daughter, who is a technological whiz, she had it, and she had it ready to go. Because I got home about 5:45.
There it is, big guy. There's your baseball.
And all I had to do was hit the button.
It's go time.
I don't want to watch an hour pregame. I did watch about 15 minutes, and Barry Bonds was on the set. With Pujols and Rizzo, and then I'm thinking Bonds looked like $1 million. Obviously, he's lost weight. I think it's also time to reincorporate those guys. The guys who have just been ostracized because of the steroids, and some get back and some don't. I think we should, if they want to come back. I mean, obviously Alex Rodriguez has been out there, and he's
He's done a ton of TV.
Yeah. And Bonds looked comfortable on the set. It was like a couch. It was a couch. It wasn't a podium. They had their couch down the third base line, just talking. The guy hit like 450 home runs if you take out all the steroid years. So
still a lot, yeah.
And even so, that's 450 minus the steroids, or with minus the steroids. So if he didn't use steroids over like 6-7 years, I assume he would have hit 500. So I think he would have got 50 more.
So it's 450 before the steroid season.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say that he would have hit 35, even if he ends up hitting 70. I mean, at minimum.
Right.
That dude would have hit 35.
Right.
Yeah. So he might have gotten to 600 without the steroids.
Oh, conceivable. You never know with injury and whatnot.
Right.
But yeah. So come on.
The thing about the streaming is that originally, it was so inexpensive, right? It's a very inexpensive alternative to these big cable and satellite bills. But now we're getting to the point where it's like, to get all the stuff that we were getting through cable and satellite, do we have to subscribe to 8 different streaming services? And how much are the numbers going up? And in the end, are we going to end up paying even more?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have ESPN Plus, right? They've got so much sports. Peacock's got a bunch of sports. That's the NBC service. Paramount is the CBS service. They've got a bunch of sports.
But looking at it right now, If you want to watch
Fox?
baseball this year, your team, YouTube TV, Hulu, cable, Peacock, Apple TV, MLB TV, Netflix.
Yeah. And you didn't mention Amazon. It's got sports properties that people want to watch.
Yeah, I'm just talking baseball.
Right. You're just talking baseball only, right? But Amazon's going to be a player in this. And then you've got like a local service, which I think is where a lot of markets have to go, at least in the short run. Like you got to buy an SCG to get the Jazz and the Mammoth. So it's really, it's easy to start saying you need 7, 8, 9, 10 streaming services. I mean,
oh yeah, and I have
are we really
what used to
saving
be
any money?
Fox Sports,
right?
Because they've grandfathered me in with the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
So that's another one. Yeah. Now I could probably pay for them if I want. Now my daughter rigged it up, and I guess you get a free trial. And so she canceled it right after the game. I don't watch Netflix. I don't watch movies.
Right. Netflix is giving a lot of shows and movies. They're just tiptoeing into sports. But it does seem like they're going to be there.
And I think it sucks for the shut-ins who look forward to that stuff each day. It's the highlight of their day because they can't go out. Their lives are at the end of their lives, and this is what they do. We see it all the time. And then it's not there. I tell the one story of my neighbor's father, his wife died, and he wanted to watch the BYU-Utah game of football, and it was on the mountain or something he didn't have. And he'd been watching BYU-Utah for years, decades.
Philly star Bryce Harper said he did not know how FanDuel would use a personalized video he made for a customer who has since accused the sportsbook in a lawsuit of taking advantage of his gambling addiction. In a statement posted on Instagram, Harper said he would not have made the video if he'd known FanDuel's intent was to use as part of a VIP promotion or the betting habits of the customer, Terry Thompson. Harper said the video request came via the platform Cameo. Put it all together. You're selling videos on Cameo, and then where does it go from there?
I have no idea about that. I checked it out. I heard him talk about it. I thought, I don't have any interest in this.
DJ PK. World Cup semifinals today and tomorrow. It is France and Spain in the first World Cup semifinal match. Watch it today. Big Fox has it in the afternoon before we go to the All-Star game in primetime.
Yeah, I know you're all hyped up on your sport, but Fox is telling us which one it values more.
World Cup set in the old game time for European primetime, too. It'll be the same thing tomorrow.
That's over there. We're here.
It is over there.
I don't care about over there. Nice try, Trevor Hoffman. Decent save, but we're Americans.
Tomorrow's game is at 1 o'clock as well. That'll be England and Argentina in the second semifinal. U.S. men's national team star Flo Balogun signed with Clutch Sports after a strong World Cup performance. It's the agency that represents LeBron James and is owned by James's business partner, Rich Paul. So we'll see where Balogun's next big deal is. Coming up, Jim Williams, longtime sports media producer, director, and executive, will join us at 8 o'clock. Thoughts on where the sports media world is going, and maybe some on our local teams as well. 9 o'clock, Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio, the Open Championship this week. We'll get him looking ahead to the action starting Thursday. And we've got more of the Copper Rock Open Championship giveaway coming up. We'll be qualifying somebody in our next segment. DJ and PK, the question of the day is next. Stay with us.
Welcome to This is Jay Scott and Ben Anderson.
Covering the Jazz for the Deseret News, she is Sarah Todd. I don't think Jackson Hayes is the solution. Nurk, I'm not sure if he's the solution either. What do you think the Jazz do as far as center going forward?
None of that is going to be a solution long term, right? But anybody that thinks that the Jazz going into this particular season being a legitimate title contender, that's not realistic. It doesn't have to be that the Jazz have their perfect center for the timeline for this team right now. This Jazz team needs to be able to prove, as constructed, that they're able to win games. The expectation is still, you make the playoffs, you definitely need to be a play-in team, like at worst. Yeah, down the road, the center position is going to need to be fortified a little bit, but that can happen over the next few years, kind of as they ramp their way up through the Western Conference.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Don't miss your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone. This week, you can win tickets to see Zach Bryan at Rice-Eccles Stadium on August 7th. Listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. Question of the morning. Keyonte George says the quality of the Jazz defense will shock people. Do you believe it? Tyson, yes. People will be shocked at how bad the Jazz defense is, even when we aren't trying to tank.
Oh, I knew that. I had a thought that might be coming, and it still tickled my fancy. My funny bone got excited to hear that. Oh, I tell you, man, those guys, you got some funny people out there.
Mark, I've never bought into the rebuild being over because this team needs to learn to play defense. It's not like you flip the switch on and you become a stellar defensive team. In short, yes, I will be shocked. Mark, if you build it, I will be shocked. If you build it, they will come. They start playing better defense, they'll find better defensive players. Are they hidden on the roster? Josh says it is possible. I think Cody Williams, Ace Bailey, and Darren Peterson specifically have a lot of potential on that end. I don't expect it to all come together next season, though.
Cody who and who?
Cody Williams, Ace Bailey, Darren Peterson.
Yeah. Well, as we've been saying, I don't anticipate Cody Williams seeing the floor a whole lot. The other two, yes. I think it's more of a mindset. What is demanded? You go back to Majerus. And I go back to him a lot because it was so influential on me that if you made not just a mistake, but a real bad mistake that they've gone over and watched film and dissected, he'll take you out. Unless you were a Van Horn caliber. He's the second pick of the draft, right?
Can't be taking out your 20-plus points a game.
So you can't spite yourself. And, we all understand that. The great, you watch the film of those documentaries that they do, and if Troy Aikman falls asleep, you wake him up. What was it, Belichick going to Parcells. Lawrence Taylor showed up 15 minutes after the meeting was scheduled. And Parcells tells Belichick when he was his coordinator, well, you should have waited to start it until he got there, and then he would have been on time. There's not one set of rules. There are some rules that everybody has to apply and make sure you run afoul of them, but there are other things. So the point is, if Will Hardy sets the standard, now the other guy, no matter who he is, can't just be standing there and olay it. I'm not saying that. You're not holding your best players just free of all standards. But if Will Hardy just demands it and they have competition, not with a bunch of guys they're bringing in on 10-day contracts to see who can fill out the rest of the season, but actual competition for significant playing time, which then equals significant money and all that type of stuff, I can see them being significantly better than last year, because if the standard is such that, and Will Hardy will have to show that from day one, it's like, okay, boys, I didn't blow up a lot in the media. We all remember a masterpiece of dog bleep and blah, blah, blah. But now there's no reason why, if they get smoked, I don't care that somebody had a good possession. I don't care that Darren Peterson had a good possession in the third quarter or a good 3 minutes. We're not going to highlight that stuff anymore. We've all been doing it. Last week, a week ago today, when we were going on Donovan Mitchell's contract, and Tim and Jake Scott were there, and I made this statement, you guys accentuated the positive in the postgame, and they got a little harried on me. Well, we do it too. Everybody does it. That's the essence of sports talk radio. You don't want to come in and crack on your local teams all the time because fans want to hear good stuff. We want to say good stuff. So I was criticizing the industry. It wasn't really a criticism. I was just pointing it out that the last 4 years, we tried to find positives in defeats.
The negative was so obvious.
Yeah.
People didn't need us to point out, hey, they've lost 5 in a row.
Right. We're looking for bright spots
they're trying
from
to
building
lose 5 in a
foundation
row.
pieces.
Right.
But I think that
So-
changes next year.
People want wins.
Yeah.
And the number of wins I have lowered in my brain because of Kessler. Tyson does ask, did he say that before Kessler left?
No, he said it the other night.
Right. Kessler's already gone.
What's today's Tuesday? He said it's Sunday.
Losing Kessler clearly is going to lower their ceiling as a defensive team.
On paper.
Well, that's all we've got on paper right now.
What can they do to make up for that loss?
I do like the people who are, calling out some specific players here because obviously Peterson wasn't there. He wasn't part of it last year. Bailey was, but he's playing, limited minutes. Jaren Jackson Jr. obviously only got the 2 games, whatever it was.
I think it was 3.
Brief. Very brief. And those guys should have an impact. Now, Keyonte has not been a good defender. He drops that line, so, okay, you getting a lot better individually could really help the group. I think buried in everything you just said in there, the biggest point to underline is if there's competition for spots, well, Hardy can take out the guy who isn't producing and put the guy in who is producing defensively. Or he can at least tip the minutes that way, right? And guys may have to play, but maybe they have to play 20 minutes instead of 30.
Yeah,
Markkanen and Keyonte George are the 2 guys, the whole spite yourself, you got to play your best players. Those are the guys you're going to be out there. And you're going to be out there a pretty good chunk of time, probably. How good a defender are you going to be? I think the other guys, it's easier to see how it could work. I mean, it could work for those 2. I just think the questions are bigger for those 2.
Well,
and then you got Nurkic in the center position. They're going to be ham and egg in that. So how many minutes does Nurkic get? Other guys might be, more athletic. Or not might be, are more athletic. And a lot of it's position. Tim will come in and tell you it's presentation. I don't call out
individuals, though, because I don't think individuals win you games.
When guys get subbed out and we know they just got beat 3 times, people are getting called out whether we say it or not. But I think to your point, when it becomes a team attitude and guys are holding each other accountable and you don't want to be embarrassed in front of your peers, it isn't an individual thing. The rising tide lifts all boats, And it is hard work defending. And do people want to do the hard work when they're just going to take us out and sit us in the 4th quarter and tank the game anyway? I mean, it does undercut your motivation. It'd be great to say every possession matters and then coach does whatever he does. But realistically, you're thinking, why am I killing myself out here in the 2nd quarter? They're going to submarine this game in the 3rd or 4th quarter anyway.
Literally more than half the time, they were already sitting and not even sitting up.
Right, yeah. They couldn't even be held responsible for the numbers and never played anyway.
This is where Hardy really sets the standard. What are you going to demand? Not what are you going to request. What are you going to demand?
How are you going to reward people with playing time?
There's not a player out there who can't get better, and I don't care what aspect. And this is the opportunity to show it. I mean, if they want to be serious, then they have to put up resistance. I don't even think they need to be a great defensive team. I think they have to put up resistance. And I'm not so worried about what's going to happen in the winter months. It's the postseason, man. What happened to the Knicks in December? I have no idea, nor do I care. But I can tell you what happened to them in June. And you can argue, well, the habits. I understand all that. But, so much of the season is guys trying to give their all when they only have about 80% to give. They're gassed. They're tired. They're sick. Their legs are feeling like concrete because they're playing so many games. But all that's off the table in the postseason, and you can go ahead and show what you can do. And the thing that I like about George is that he's presented such a phenomenal sense of self-awareness that he knows. He said it in the interview. We're going to be, and I'm not quoting verbatim here, but essentially a prolific offensive team because there's so many guys that have such high-level skill, and that's where they got to where they are, right? So that shouldn't be an issue. they could have two guys, their two main guys, can be off. The shots aren't falling that particular night. And we could be thinking, well, so what? They got four other guys that shots are falling. And it's probably not going to be many situations where six guys, there might be a few, that six guys can't buy a bucket that night, right? Because they got so much skill spread across every position. And with that in mind, that they're going to be fine there. So what type of effort do they need? Do they need to be a lockdown, which I don't think exists anyway, or do they need to be a top 10? If they're a top 10 defensive team, then 50 games are on the table.
But that's regular season. You don't care about regular season?
Well, I don't care about it once we get to the postseason. I don't think at that point
you let it go.
It doesn't matter.
You're seated where you're seated. You
Right.
play who you play, and then you can worry about those 4 to 7 games.
Right. And so, but I want to see some
Back to your
progression
habits.
establishing what you just said.
Back to the habits matter,
Yeah.
and it will probably be a progression realistically.
This is what we do.
It'd be awesome to wave the magic wand, and then Keyonte comes out, and he's just right from the first game.
But we're not going to go up and down based on every game. But that's what we do in the postseason because everything is magnified 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have a level of standard that Will Hardy has established, then that's what I want to see. And then everybody increases their intensity in the postseason. The 10th seed play-in team, everybody does it, right? And so then I want to see even more so where possessions matter, games matter, little things matter far more than they do in the regular season. You can see it, man. There's not this big feeling out process. A 10, 15-point lead in the first quarter is the most useless thing ever to worry about in the regular season.
A lot of possessions to go.
Yeah, and guys are just sort of feeling it. And the league, the setup of the schedule basically requires it, so I don't get worked up like, oh, man, he did not bust it. I don't think anybody busted every single game for however many games they play in the regular season. But in the postseason, absolutely, yeah. So I want to see some basic parameters to be established. And what will we do? And I think that you can see that, 25 games in, assuming there aren't a bunch of rash of injuries. Or, for this team, they may make a significant trade at the deadline. Who knows? Or before the deadline. I don't know that there's guys out there that can really make a difference. It seems like these are their guys. But the good thing about it is even Nurkic, I don't need triple-doubles out of him anymore.
No. The ball was in his hands so much,
Right.
but that's going to be different because depending on the lineup they run out, there'll be 3 or 4 skilled offensive players on the floor with him.
I need him to concentrate on rebounding, boxing out, so your man doesn't get the board, and at least slide a little bit to put up some resistance. You've got a massive body, and you're not going to be a Mark Eaton all of a sudden blocking 6 shots a game. It's just not who you are. I understand, but can you do things that weren't necessarily required of you? You've only been in the Jazz system for 1 year. Seems to me he could do some more stuff and have some energy distributed in areas that he didn't have to or need to or was required to last year. And then we'll see about the other two guys with, was it Ballmer and Hayes? What can they offer? I'm not sure. I don't know.
I think Hayes can offer it. To what level will be interesting. But if he can't offer it, I don't think he's in the league for his offensive game. He's in his league for his size and his tussle and his ability to move and his effort.
Yeah, but you can't guarantee me he's going to get 10 minutes a game.
Back to your point, they've got multiple big guys and who produces and who gets rewarded.
So if you're not playing 10 minutes a game, you're not doing anything. And 10 minutes is not that much.
It is not.
So I'm not counting on him in terms of, I'm pretty certain he can do this, this, and this. He may never see the floor. He may just be a garbage time player. So I have no idea what he can do with this team in what they're trying to accomplish.
Greg says the defense was dramatically, all caps, dramatically improved during the games with JJ. So, yes, I think it'll be much better.
Man, I'm struggling to remember those games.
I saw his comment, so I went and looked it up, and one of the games was Sacramento, so low bar, but it was good numbers in that game. Sacramento shot 34% and 21 from 3. So
yeah, were they playing their 4th game and 5th nights?
Right.
When you just give me these raw stats and expect me to extrapolate facts out of them, I'm going to reject them every time. I just don't understand why you do that.
The other game was against Miami.
And now you're going to give me stats on that game.
And it was similar. So,
and fortunately, because I said similar, you backed away from giving me stats.
Well, I don't have them right in front of me, but I can call them up.
I don't want you to.
Well, now I want to because you told me I shouldn't. So
you can do it, just don't say it on the air. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. But expecting me to act like there are things I can put in cement because it's a raw stat, no. Call lock, and you two can just go on for the next 10 hours on that Miami game.
42% from the floor and 28 from 3. And they won both those games.
He does it anyway.
Yep, I did. I told you I was going to. And they won both those games.
But I told you not to.
I don't care.
I have just as much say in this show as you do.
You're right.
The early days are gone.
You're right.
I'm not asking for approval or validation.
Well, you got it anyway.
I'm stating fact.
You're getting lots of stuff anyway. I don't know what the third game was. He's listed his 3-game stats, but they aren't in his...
Don't worry about it, big dog.
No, I'm going to worry about it. I'm going to go to NBA reference. I'm going to find that
Should
game.
he worry about Yak? Be the arbiter. Should he worry about it?
No.
There we go.
Don't. Spare us all. No, this is...
okay, so to the bigger question, Jaren Jackson Jr., how much better does he make everybody?
Well, he was a defensive player of the year, right?
He's defensive player of the year.
Okay, so that alone means something.
He's a 6'10 guy. He's behind him. Now he's got to be out on the 3-point line.
And I think when Keyonte says people are going to be shocked, that's one of the things. Because he knows we didn't see him last year. And only dopes like you would look up the 3 games and try to draw some, like, this is the way it's going to be. But he's been working out with the guy for weeks. And so he knows. He sees it. The self-awareness that guy has shown, now when he says something, I'm going to give it power. I'm going to give it credence until I see otherwise. Because the stuff that he says, what is he, 23 years old?
23 going on 33.
Is that how old he is?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I have to look it up.
Right, exactly.
You're giving me a lot to look
what
up
you
there.
say.
23 going on 33.
Yeah.
I know.
He just speaks like he's been in the league for 10
years. And the thing
years.
is, some guys are just always like that, and he was not 20 years going on 30.
Nor he should have been.
He was 20 going on 20.
Right.
But all of a sudden, he's talking like a vet.
Right.
So the quality,
and a leader.
So he says the quality of the Jazz defense will shock people.
Uh-huh.
To what level, like if they're in the top half of the league, because they've literally been the worst team in the league. And there's different metrics, and you can move it around. Maybe
he
you can
knows
get him
that
to 28. Too. He does, right? So are we shocked if they're in the top half of the league, top third, top quarter, top 5? Like how
top
good?
5, wow.
I know, but see, that was shocked. Top 5,
I'd
wow.
be shocked.
You're shocked.
Yeah.
So he didn't put something, there's no objective, which, it's the summer. There doesn't need to be.
There's no metric to
there's no metric to judge what he's suggesting here.
Uh-huh.
Just like it's going to be so good, you're really going to be surprised. And given who they have, getting to the middle of the league, while it would be good progress, wouldn't be shocking. You're adding the defensive player, a guy who's been the defensive player of the year, who's in his prime.
I can buy
You're
what you're
adding
saying.
a rookie who has something to prove coming into the league, has this massive wingspan. He's got pretty good size and a massive wingspan on top of it.
Yeah,
Peterson's athletic. He can defend. We know Ace Bailey should be able to defend at a high level. So they definitely got some things. They got basically 2 new guys and a third guy who was a rookie playing part-time figuring it out, who didn't have good guys around him.
Right. If you're going to go with cornrows, you better be a good defender.
Which brings us to the curly hair, sitting on the sideline, well-manicured dude who you didn't like
Curl?
seeing sitting, Jerry Curl, sitting in street clothes, looking like he doesn't have a care in the world. Why should he?
Amen.
I'm not going to get hurt tonight. I got no stress.
And he's making $50 million. He loves the outdoors.
And he loves the outdoors. He loves being in Utah. I mean,
he goes to hockey games.
We'd be mad at him if he didn't like his life. Are we going to be mad at him because he does like his life? Could you mix in some wins? And he's like, I don't know. Can you mix in having them let me play? So now it's all there. All that's behind us. So now, is he marketing in some situations may not have to take the better, more dangerous player because Jackson maybe can, right? Are they on the court together?
Depends on matchups and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of things there, to build around. And the one thing that we all could embrace was Kessler at the rim cleaning stuff up because we'd seen it. That dude can block shots. He can get somewhere pretty quickly and use his height and length and block a shot you don't think he can get to. And then the defense knows it, and then they're not driving, and shots are getting changed, or they're just launching some three they can't make because they don't think they can get inside. And they're not going to have that. So it's hard to sit here and think, it's going to be awesome. But back to your earlier point.
Understood.
Keyonte is there for whatever pickup games they've got, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 5-on, whatever the guys are doing, shirts versus skins, whatever it is.
They do that at that level? Shirts versus skins like they do at the
Sure,
park?
why not?
Back in the day.
Well, don't they have like the jerseys you can
They
turn
do have
inside out?
reversibles.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, at least they're not punching each other like certain.
Put on the penny. All right, well, something to mull over. Keyonte George threw it out there.
I think we should have a shirts and skins basketball game among the staff. And you be skins. Well, you think you're big weight loss, dude. This is your chance to show it off.
Nice. I retired. So did you. So did you, though. Go out there. Not about the weight loss, about the Achilles.
Okay, then let's do a calendar.
The calendar nobody wants to see.
We'll raise money.
The men of the KSL Sports Zone.
We're going to need bigger buns.
Jake, Tim, Ben, Scotty G got some bad news. We made an executive decision this morning. All right, Jim Williams, longtime sports media producer, director, and executive, coming up at 8 o'clock. We will talk with him. Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio, at 9 o'clock. You want to do a Copper Rock qualifier now? Yeah. We'll do it right now. Copper Rock Open Championship giveaway. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Pick up the phone, dial. 12th caller will be assigned a golfer, either one of the top 25, maybe the field. The winner will win a Copper Rock branded polo, outerwear piece, hat, and a $100 gift card. This will give you a serious rooting interest in the Open Championship. Brought up to you yesterday, PK. You don't have to golf. You're getting a bunch of gear. You're getting a bunch of clothing. You get a $100 gas gift card. Don't even need to golf. Good prizes. It's all brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeComb.
Nobody cares about the score. Washington did beat the Jazz 92-88. AJ DeBonsa, his first game in Summer League, had some moments. Darren Peterson still put up the points, but not quite at the level and quite the efficiency that we saw in the two games in Salt Lake City. So everybody out there is like, oh, AJ won that head-to-head battle.
You've got to remove loyalty, which is hard to do. And I think in this case, there's a lot of people that are torn in this valley because, one guy, AJ, played here locally, and then obviously Darren being picked. So I just actually sat back like a coach would sit back, and I watched it. And I think what AJ showed is what AJ can do. Basically, on one end, AJ was kind of being AJ, and on the other end, Washington was hell-bent on not even letting him get a catch.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
KSL Sports Zone at Beehive Meals are honoring people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports and volunteer for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at KSLSports.com/contest. And listen every Thursday afternoon to Jake and Ben for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Congress is voting on making daylight savings time permanent. What is your choice? Oh, this could have a direct impact on sports here, PK. How long do you have light for golf? How long do you have light for youth sports? How's this going to work?
Oh, when you first said that, I thought you said, how long do you have life?
No, light for.
Because you've been trying to bury me for a while now.
Bury yourself. Greg says daylight savings time in the summer, standard time in the winter. Keep it the way it's been.
I know, but they're talking about not doing that, making a change.
He didn't want it. Michael, no time changes for Pete's sake. Pick one or the other and stick to it like super glue. He doesn't want the spring forward, fall back thing.
It is confusing. I had a roommate in college. I still keep in touch with him. He lives in California now. Mm-hmm. Apparently, I used to bug him because he brings it up occasionally. Yeah, you just plug the clock in the wall, and that's it. You never change it because Arizona does not change time. Mm-hmm. And I used to just chide him on that, apparently, just for the sake of riding him, because he'll bring it up. Yeah, you used to always say that, man. Just plug the clock, put the clock in the wall, and that's it. You never have to worry about it. Because now you had to worry about, okay, like Monday Night Football, it would start at 2 different times then during the course of the year.
I get it. Yeah. Because you're the equivalent of Pacific time or Mountain time, depending on the time of year.
And then, even to my sisters, my parents, I long since gave up.
When your sisters are still befuddled and confused, trying to figure out what time it is when they call you?
Yeah, right. And that's inexcusable. But my parents is like, well, just forget it. They got to, like, at least if they're on the hour, I'll accept it and I can work with them.
As long as we're that close, we're good.
Yeah, but like, once you start getting to the half hour, then. But yeah, they never ever got it down because this time of year they're an hour behind us, and then when we change clocks, then we're the same time.
Cameron wants permanent standard time so the sun comes up before 9 a.m. in the winter. Doesn't like darkness in the early morning in the winter.
Well, yeah, but you trade it the other way.
That doesn't matter to Cameron.
I can remember as a kid, and Vegas has this too. I don't know why. Vegas in the winter is like 3:30. 4 o'clock. It is gone. They have no business being on Pacific time. Nevada, the entire state, obviously. And I went down to Palm Springs in December, this last December. And you had to make sure that you didn't play golf as close to the Western Mountains as possible, because it would start getting dark at 3:30 because the sun would go behind the mountains.
The sun goes behind the mountains, yeah.
Right. And depending on the temperature that day, it's way colder. And you may run out of daylight so stinking early. Whereas in the winter, nobody's playing golf at 7:30. 8 o'clock. So I lean toward going toward the daylight time. And I can remember as a kid, too, back east. Mm-hmm. It just, man, the winters and the darkness is way longer. I really think that's why I got into baseball so much, is because I wanted to be outside. And you're a kid and you're cooped up.
Got all that energy and nowhere to blow off that steam.
Yeah. And, I did sledding, but you do that every day, where you can run around. When spring came, as a kid, man, I was so excited. Then I moved to Arizona, it's not nearly as big. And then I moved to California, it's not nearly as big a deal, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously. Yeah. And then here, as an adult, it's not near as big. But when I lived in New Jersey, man, I just was so just frustrated. It was so cold for so long, so dark, that when spring finally came, it was just a beautiful thing.
Matt says keep daylight savings time. We don't want the sun up at 4:30 in the morning and down at 7:30 during the summer.
It is cool to have light so long.
Don says we tried permanent daylight savings time back in 1976, and everyone hated it. It was dark until 9 a.m. in the winter, and walking to school in the dark got a lot of children killed. So there's a whole safety aspect to it.
An epidemic of children getting killed?
Yeah, that's what Don says.
I don't remember.
There was one case here, and it was used in the argument. Somebody got hit walking. A kid got hit walking to West High. And there was a fatality, and that became an issue here. That was probably 10 years ago. I don't remember the daylight savings time back in 1976. Did we try it permanently as a country or as a state? I don't know. I don't even know. Maybe I don't have any recollection of that happening.
I don't ever remember setting clocks as a kid.
Matt, don't care if we change the clocks fall and spring. We can leave it how it is. Just don't go to standard times. Summer's too short to be going in at 8 o'clock because it's dark. Some of us work till 5:30 or 6, and we like some summer nights.
Well, why do you have to go in?
Because it's dark. Can't see what he's doing, whatever he's doing. I don't know what he's doing.
Well, I didn't think you knew what he was doing.
Yeah. That's why you have to go in, though. Because he's doing something he can't do anymore.
Can't you just turn on a light?
You ever play golf under the lights? Does that work for you?
I have had par 3 courses in Arizona.
Yeah.
And
there was one in Santa Barbara.
I did play par 3s when I was a kid. And one time a guy hopped the fence and we got in a fight and he punched me in the head. And I called my father and we came down and we went looking for him because that's what Jersey people do.
You find him?
No.
Yeah.
Luckily, there would have been a fatality.
Why'd he punch you in the head?
He probably didn't like me.
You don't want to get into why, huh?
I don't remember. He drove by, and I was with some other guys, and words were exchanged.
Yeah.
And he punched me in the head. Yeah. And I went Tiger with my 2-iron. Or I guess Elon with my 2-iron. Yeah.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah. Who has kids by a former BYU basketball player.
Now we can go to break. The story's complete.
Look it up.
DJ PK.
3 kids, I think.
It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We're joined by Jim Williams, longtime sports media producer, director, and executive. Jim, good morning.
Good morning, boys. How you doing?
We are doing well this morning.
Hey, before we get started, one question. Which one of you guys did the covers high school sports in Los Angeles?
Me.
Patrick
okay.
Kinahan.
Did you ever go out and watch Mater Day play?
I don't think I did. No, I think that was a little south of where I was. I covered L.A. City schools.
Oh, okay, cool.
Mater Day's in Orange County.
Yeah,
Mater Day's in Orange County, and they basically used to be a pipeline. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yes, they have been known to be a football power. There's no question about that.
They've sent a few kids to USC.
Many.
Right. Jim, you had you're on social media yesterday, and you were talking about keep an eye out. Here's the post on Twitter, on X. Keep an eye out when MLB expands. Salt Lake City is quietly becoming one of the hottest sports towns in America. Sports Business Journal just vaulted Salt Lake from number 44 to number 12 nationally, ahead of some legacy markets on its best sports business cities list. You cite the Jazz, RSL, Olympic infrastructure, and an aggressive event strategy, which traces back to the Utah Sports Commission. So I'm curious, what has changed, or did the number just kind of catch up? Is that something you do every year? Has something changed in the last year? Or maybe sometimes the whole, the image catches up with reality at some point, and so that's why the big jump in numbers. What's driving that?
I think a lot of it, guys, is people are discovering Utah. I've been there many times, and you come back, you tell people what a wonderful time you had at Salt Lake, and I think that what's driving it is that look at the attendance. Look at the attendance at the Mammoth hockey games. The Jazz have always been strong. And then you've got, of course, Real Salt Lake, which you guys talked about earlier in the program. So I think it's really a matter of image. People are getting to understand that, Utah and specifically Salt Lake City is a hot sports market. There's numbers are numbers, whether you want to argue them or whatever. But I know a lot of people, think, well, gosh, Salt Lake, no baseball's down. Of course, there's no reason that can't be.
How do you think that affects the colleges as they want to continue to grow their brands?
It helps because, everybody, this is a really small business, okay? And at the end of the day, you want to be where you're going to be appreciated. And you can't do that if you don't look at it and say, okay, look, this is a fantastic up and growing market. What's it going to do? It's going to help the University of Utah. It's going to help BYU. It's going to help Utah State, Southern Utah. It's going to help the entire region.
I do wonder about colleges in the direct shadow of pro teams, partly because I grew up in San Diego and I saw what it did to San Diego State. I was literally home for the 98 World Series. The Padres are playing the Yankees, and that's the days when you have these huge special newspaper sections because they can make a ton of money. And San Diego State put an ad in it. And they're like, come see the game next week. And I'm like, well, you're trying. You're doing the right thing. But the game they had to promote was, I think it was UTEP. You know, and it's like, wow, the Yankees are here for the World Series. I'm pretty into it. Even I'm like, that's not much. But what are they supposed to do? That's who they were playing. And I just look at, Houston and Houston, it's better to be Texas and Austin. I look at Cincinnati, Xavier, Cleveland State. It's better to be Ohio State and Columbus. Right? Florida and Florida State. It's better to be in your small college towns than to be Miami in Miami, where unless they have a great team, it is really hard for them to draw 50,000 people. So is there a problem with being right in the backyard and too close together?
I would say different. It's a difference in baseball and football. If you're talking about professional NFL football, that's a whole different ballgame. But you're not. You're talking about baseball. Baseball's played for the most part when football isn't. And, unless you get into the postseason. So I really don't see, if you told me tomorrow that Salt Lake was going to get, an NFL franchise, then I'd have another different answer for you. But there's no correlation really in baseball versus college football or college basketball.
You had this piece also, too, on BYU and their ability to continue to grow as a brand. Could you go into detail on what that is about and how beneficial that is for them and maybe what it could mean down the road?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for many years, as you all know, BYU was independent. And there was a guy, a really good, smart programming guy, back when I started in this business when dinosaurs roamed the earth. And his name is Frank Carney. Now, Frank Carney was in charge of Western Pennsylvania, Maryland, West Virginia. And he used to like to get, back in those days, you could get tape delay football games because you couldn't do it. You could only have 2 games live and then a regional game. So he decided, you know what, I'm going to program football all day long, even if some of it is, is tape delayed. But then there was BYU having their own TV network. And it was a Pac-12, late after dark, before the Pac-12 after dark actually exists. So, there were a lot of people who remember the 1984 team, that won the mythical national championship. So there was a lot of people who watched BYU football long before they even knew where BYU was. And so I think that was a big help to them. And I think that you still have some BYU, followers, much like we call them Subway alumni, who've never been there, but they still like to watch and pay attention to them.
College football, CBS and Fox have the Big Ten and the SEC, and there's a lot of talk about Big 12 ratings and are these teams watchable? And even when they get good time slots, when they're not playing in that 8:30 after dark kickoff local time here, which is 10:30 in the East, and obviously people are going to bed, and so a lot of the country doesn't see those games. But when they move them up to like 1:30, they are frequently going against massive games. And I just think people in those parts of the country are going to watch the local/regional team, not the team from the other side of the country. Is there any way to get around that? Are any of the schools out here ever going to be ratings powerhouses? I mean, maybe USC and Oregon, depending on who they're playing?
Yeah, I think that, again, it's brand. Hopefully it's what they brought Brett your market for, because that's what Brett's a very good promoter of the conference, and I think that will help them. There's very little you can differentiate. It's like, okay, fine, we get an early game, whether it was Colorado a few years ago when Dion just got there. This is going to sound cliche, but winning solves everything. If you got a team in the top 10 and they're playing hot, then there's no reason to believe they aren't going to get ratings. The last couple of years of the Pac-12, their ratings weren't bad at all. And, as I say, and that wasn't just USC and UCLA and Oregon. So I do think that there's a place for that, for both. You guys have two outstanding programs in Utah and in, BYU. So I think that at the end of the day, we're going to see a lot more of that. But look, guys, we're changing. The whole thing is changing. And that is, it's all going to direct to consumer for now. You talked about earlier about wanting to watch the home run derby last night and going to Netflix. It's not going to get simpler. Streaming is now a part of what's going on. So if I want to watch Utah play football or I want to watch BYU play football, I'll have that opportunity. I'll pay for that opportunity, but I will have that opportunity.
One of the cool things since we've been here, because we came here a year apart in the 90s from California, is to see, you talk about that brand, the University of Utah, known as a basketball school for many, many years, and to see its brand grow as in football has just been awesome. For me, I've gotten to cover the Fiesta Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, 2 Rose Bowls, and all that. So to see this brand come from where I came from, and it was not much coming from Arizona and California, you didn't know a whole lot about Utah football. Now, it just exploded. It's been rising as well as practically anybody's. What do you think the brand is for Utah as it tries to grow, and maybe whenever there is some form of, expansion or divide line between, if they ever get to that point where some schools are in the power and some get left out, as far as Utah being on that right side?
I think the key here is, as I said before, coming to Utah and watching sports was phenomenal. Or producing and directing sports are great. I think this is going to sound silly, but you need better PR. When I tell people what a wonderful time you can have going to a Utah football game, is that the setting is gorgeous, and teams have always been good. So I think it's more of a perception, and you need to really pump more about what Utah is all about. The University of Utah. Not that they don't try, but I don't think they're doing it as well as they perhaps could. Not that they need my opinion on it, but I do think that once you start paying attention to them, it's very much worth your while. Just the same as BYU.
Jim Williams joining us, longtime sports media producer, director, and executive. One thing I have heard from people who are way deeper into this than me and know a lot more about it than me is that basketball and hockey here, there isn't that big a risk because they get so much money from their national TV deals. Baseball does not. And so if we get baseball, the local broadcast revenue becomes way more important because it's such a big percentage of the total operation. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's true? Is there a risk with baseball coming here, or do you think it will absolutely succeed when it shows up in Utah?
I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't. And I say this as a fact that it's attendance also makes a lot of difference. You guys know because you were on the cutting edge. Utah basketball and, of course, the Mammoth took everything on air, over the air broadcast. And that's been nothing but successful for them. So I think that baseball in the state of Utah and Salt Lake City is, in my mind, it's a no-brainer. You've got a phenomenal group of fans in the area, but then again, regionally, you have a lot of fans. And so I would say that, you're right that's a problem everybody's getting in baseball themselves in this new deal that's coming up in 2028. Some of the reasons that they took over all of the Major League Baseball productions, all but a few of them in the regionals left, was because they want to bundle it and package it in a way where they'll get some of that money back. They'll claw it back. It'll take them a while, but they'll get some money back. So to them right now, people coming to the ballgame is the key for a lot of these franchises.
How much do you think TV is going to drive what happens in college football going forward?
A lot less than it used to.
Really?
Yeah, and I say this because what we're seeing right now is the Big Ten and the SEC are getting the lion's share of the money. You were talking a little earlier about Netflix and trying to figure out where the games are going. Um, I think that there's a reset time right now. There's a saying here in Washington that basically those who are talking don't know, and those who know aren't talking. And I think what we're seeing here is a bunch of universities who want to be in either the SEC or the Big Ten, but they're Tony Petit is somebody I've known and worked with for 30 years. He's not stupid. He's very calculated in what he wants to do, and so I would say that right now, as of today, the Big Ten and the SEC have ideas, and they're running a number of different scenarios. But at the end of the day, I think that we're going to find that college football and college sports will still have a strong place, but we're going to see a lot more streaming of it than we probably ever have, and certainly in the 2030 plus cycle.
The Big Ten looks like it's on the verge, to me, looks like it's on the verge of taking everything over. They've got more money. The SEC doesn't seem to be interested in expanding nationally. They'll add states like Texas and Oklahoma, but they want to stay contiguous is the word they always use, right? Use a state right next door to one they're already in.
Sure.
They're in Arkansas and Louisiana. They'll go to Oklahoma and Texas. They won't go any further. The professional leagues that truly are national have 8 teams in 10 Western markets. And it's all a little different. Basketball's in Sacramento and baseball's in San Diego, and obviously hockey and basketball are here in Utah. But all of the leagues find a way to get into at least 7 of the 10 markets, so they're a national league so that everybody has a horse in the race. If the Big Ten's going to do it, can they just add Stanford and Cal and be a truly national league? Do they need to be in Denver, Phoenix, Salt Lake City also? What do you think?
No, I don't think they do. I think that they have a strategy, which is they already have 4 brands in the out west that are. You can argue that UCLA isn't the brand that they used to be, and that would probably be right. But SC and Oregon and Washington, make a pretty strong Western group. Now, again, this is just me speculating. If they decided to go west, then certainly Utah and Arizona State would probably be their target out west. I don't think that Stanford and Cal had opportunities to join the Big Ten, and more Stanford's situation on Cal, and they chose not to. So I'm not so certain that I wouldn't put my house on it for betting that Utah and Arizona State are going to get the invites if they do expand. But a long shot's better than no shot, right?
Yeah. Well, why'd you select those 2?
Because 2 reasons. 1, the programs are successful. 2, you were talking about Kenny Dillingham earlier.
Yeah.
And Arizona State probably has more. If Arizona State was in the Big Ten, when people would go to the games and Penn State would be out there, Michigan's out there, Ohio State's out there, I'm not sure that there would be more fans in that beautiful stadium down there by the mountain than would be there rooting for the home team. So I think that has to do with it. I think the mountain time zone is always an important thing for the conferences to have. So you have all 4 time zones. So I think all of that plays into it. And I think that do I know where they're going to expand? No, I have no idea. But if they are going to go west, to me, Utah makes a lot of sense, and so does Arizona State.
Yeah. So many Big Ten alumni in Southern California and in Arizona. They are everywhere. So I totally get that. I'm curious if you believe that these sports leagues can go overseas, both the NFL and the NBA. They're looking at doing it differently, but they're both going there. with streaming, are they just looking ahead thinking, hey, we're moving beyond the U.S. TV networks and cobbling together networks overseas to go to an Apple or an Amazon or a Netflix and to be, in Europe and in North America? Does that make a ton of sense? Are they really ahead of the curve here?
I think with the global brands you just brought up, Apple and Prime specifically, they're not afraid to push the boundaries. And I think that the NFL deal, which by the way is coming up soon, we shall keep an eye out for that. The NFL deal probably is going to have at least 6 to 8 games that are going to be played in Europe. They're finding some traction, but I don't know that it's ever going to be successful in Europe, right? It's like, to me, I liken it to an NFL bowl game. You get to go overseas and hang out and have a good time for a week, and then fly back here and play football. So one of these streamers are going to get that 9:30 slot. Then you've got the 1 o'clock, the 4:30. I'm talking Eastern Coast time, so 1 o'clock, the 4:30, and then of course the nighttime game and Sunday night, and then Monday Night Football. So there's only so many, and Thursday, I forgot that. There's only so many time slots you can fill. But at the end of the day, I do believe what we're seeing is consolidation, guys. I mean, look, we don't know yet whether the merger between CBS and Sky, Skydance is going to come off. But if they do, then everything that's TNT right now goes to CBS, and CBS will take control of it. Just because they consolidate doesn't mean they have more budget. And there's only a certain amount of money that can be spent on TV sports. And right now, I'm looking at what's going to happen with the NFL. They want to be upwards of $150 to $200 billion. To get there, some of these networks are going to have to shed content because you just can't pay all that money for and not have it, mess up the bottom line in another way. So there's a ripple effect here. But college football and college sports will always have a place. I do believe one of the reasons Apple was heavily involved in wanting to get to Pac-12 was because so many of the players in the Olympic sports are actually from overseas. And so it has some sellability. The NBA, for sure. I mean, you can't go anywhere in Europe and not see a Steph Curry jersey, a LeBron James jersey. It's what David Stern did, with that process was, genius in that regard.
Jim, we'll leave it right there. We appreciate the time, and I know there are a lot of baseball fans in Utah who hope you are right about expansion, that it's not only going to happen, that they will flourish. Well,
if I can, I'll get out there and see you guys, and we'll go to a ball game. Maybe.
All right, look forward to it.
Hopefully in the near future.
All right, thank you, Jim. We appreciate it.
Anytime, brother.
All right, Jim Williams, longtime sports media producer, director, and executive. DJ and PK coming up, top of the hour. Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio, talking Open Championship at 9 o'clock. Stay with us.
Welcome to This is Chase Scott and Ben Anderson.
Covering the Jazz for the Deseret News, she is Sarah Todd. I don't think Jackson Hayes is the solution. Nurk, I'm not sure if he's the solution either. What do you think the Jazz do as far as center going forward?
None of that is going to be a solution long term, right? But anybody that thinks that the Jazz going into this particular season being a legitimate title contender, that's not realistic. It doesn't have to be that the Jazz have the perfect center for the timeline for this team right now. This Jazz team needs to be able to prove, as constructed, that they're able to win games. The expectation is still, you make the playoffs, you definitely need to be a play-in team, like at worst. Yeah, down the road, the center position is going to need to be fortified a little bit, but that can happen over the next few years, kind of as they ramp their way up through the Western Conference.
Catch Jake and Ben afternoons from 2 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Question of the morning, PK. Off a Keyonte George interview, Keyonte thinks that the quality of the Jazz defense will shock people. Do you believe it? See, he is assessing in that statement the fact the defense was not good, and people definitely
he knows
noticed.
it.
Yeah, he knows it, and he knows everyone else knows it, but he also absolutely believes that it is changing, and people are going to be surprised by how much it's changing.
What he said.
And I think all of us have lowered our expectations since Kessler left. Because
he made the comment after Kessler left.
We have seen in this market, certainly to different levels, but Mark Eaton certainly, everyone.
He's a beast.
Yeah, you got Mark at the rim. You can get out, gamble in passing lanes, pressure guys, and if you get beat off the dribble, Mark's there to fix it.
Yeah.
Then Greg Ostertag, and then Rudy Gobert, and now Walker Kessler.
And
Ostertag.
It bothers me that you overlooked Felton Spencer, but
I did.
Go ahead.
It was so brief. And the thing with Ostertag, for all his flaws and his ups and downs and all that, the reason Jerry put up with it is because the size and shot blocking, he did provide that. Even on the nights he didn't have a lot of energy, he's still a tall guy and it intimidates people. They never know.
I would throw Gobert in there, too.
Absolutely, I did. Yeah. Gobert and Kessler.
The three best. Now, Kessler he never really got to show it in full bloom.
No, but we all expected it because we saw out of the previous players.
Yeah. I mean, Mark Eaton is the standard. He'll be the standard probably for a long, long time. And Keyonte George knows that. He knows full well that Kessler, what he provided, he was a teammate of his for 3 years. And he didn't play. Kessler didn't play last year, but still, he knows it. And they're going to have to find a way to substitute for that. But it seems like they've got that ability. And I appreciate George saying that because right now...
You put yourself on notice when you talk like that, right?
When he talks, it doesn't seem like he's talking to talk. It's like he's talking to say something. And he's being interviewed. They come to him, or however it was. You want to do the interview? Yeah. And so he does it, and he provides some real information in his answers. And it's like he's a must-listen now when he's being interviewed, particularly now when we're not talking about game after game after game, and it gets a little mind-numbing as those guys are looking to shower and get home or shower and get on the plane and be on their way, right? Now, that's not the case. So he's in a more relaxed environment, and when he says something, he provides insight. And when he says the word, and I believe he said the word shocked because it caught my ear, and I listened to it watching the game on Sunday night. And with that in mind, I'm thinking, okay, now is that a possibility? Well, when I look at the athletic abilities of the collective group, maybe it's a show me thing, and I don't have as much faith as he does, but I can see where he's coming from because there is athletic ability at every position, literally. And in some cases, phenomenal athletic ability at the positions.
Looking at you, Ace Bailey.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Darren Peterson.
They just jump out at you.
Yeah. And obviously, Jaren Jackson Jr. comes in as previously having won the Defensive Player of the Year award. So,
yeah, and that's good for him on the back end. But obviously, defense starts on the front end. And the ability to prevent the breakdown of the team concept, I think, is the number one aspect of a defense. And basically, to boil it down in simpler terms, how well can you stay in front of your guy?
That is super basic and that is super simple, but you can never underestimate how important that is.
Right.
Because once you get in the scramble and then the rotations aren't right.
Right.
And Tom Nasalki used to gripe about that nonstop. All this stuff about the rotate. We got to get our rotations guy. How about you stay in front of your guy? Stay in front of your guy. Because if you do that, everything gets simple.
It does, but it's also arguably the hardest thing to do because of the skill level now of these kids coming into the league and then the vets who are already there.
And the fact that so many people are running pick and rolls now, if you can stay in front of your guy and they want to shake your guy, they're going to do the pick and roll and they're going to make you switch or trail or whatever. And they're going to run something that puts you in a scramble. But anything that they have to run that takes a couple more seconds to run, you only have to defend for 24 if you can rebound. You only have to defend for 24, so anything that takes a couple more seconds off the clock, whether it's how quickly they come up court, how quickly they're able to start it and get into it, they'll take that advantage.
And then they have the ability to shoot over the top, and some of these guys have such quick triggers. So it's hard. Even if you do, and we hear this, I think Thurl said it, used the expression in the Summer League up here, good defense, better offense. It happens.
But the whole range, and that's all true, and you can't stress over any one possession until you need that one at the end of a game. But over the course of the game, you're just talking about the margins. Like, everybody in the league defensively, 34% of the shots go in from three. Nobody has 39% of the shots go in against them. But in that margin, when you're trying to hold a team from shooting 38.5 to get them down to like 34.5, that's the whole thing. You spend all this energy on 100 possessions so that 4 shots don't go in. That's the whole thing. That moves you from the worst in the league to the best in the league. And you just got to accept that, hey, some of them don't go because some shots just don't go. And some of them are going to go in because everybody gives up buckets. You can be, I don't know, whoever.
Yeah, I think you can say that about a lot of sports. If your ERA is just 1 run less.
Yeah.
If you got 10 more hits over the course of 450 at-bats.
Yep.
So...
And that's where
it's out there.
And that's why the playoffs are so different than the regular season. Because in the regular season, in both sports, you can really go to the analytics and like, hey, are you going to get 150 or 200 hits? Are you going to get 20, 30, 40 home runs? Are you going to hit this many threes and all that? But then you get to what you love to say about the baseball playoffs, comes down to pitching, defense, and timely hitting. Because you can have outliers in 4, 5, 6, 7 games. And that's why we get upsets. Because a pitcher who's mediocre can have a great game. And a batter who doesn't have a lot of power hits 1 home run in the right situation. A guy who's not a great shooter gets hot from the corner for 1 quarter of a game, and he swings that game, which in a close series can be enough. Get you the 1 road win you have to have. Mm-hmm. And so the analytics don't hold as much power in the playoffs because the sample size is so much smaller. The numbers over time, over 82 games, over 162 games, the numbers are going to be what they're going to be. The Aaron Judges of the world are going to hit their 40-plus home runs. And the Steph Currys of the world. But, man, when it gets right down to it, is Curry going to hit those 3 3-pointers in the fourth quarter of the gold medal basketball game at the Olympics? Because even Steph Curry misses them. But he's going to hit those 3. And the analytics don't matter as much. It comes down to sample size and good habits and handling the pressure.
I want to see what these guys do really, really intensely. I want to see it. I want to see what these guys commit to winning, what their commitment to winning looks like, not their commitment to stats. You know, you hear the expression, stats are for losers. Mm-hmm. I think basketball might be the best example of that, of all the sports.
Because you can get your 20 points, and your team only scores 85, and 85 doesn't win you anything in the NBA.
Yeah.
But you got your 20, and you can walk up, well, I scored 20.
You got 27, but you took 25 shots. Mm-hmm. And so what is your commitment to winning? How serious is this group going to be in terms of wanting to win? And what level of sacrifice are you willing to make for your individual game? I think that's what it comes down to. Each of these guys, and it's going to be the guys. It's not going to be the owner. It's not going to be the GM. It's not. I don't even think it's going to be the coach. The coach has to set the standard. But then what level of commitment do they have? Because in this sport, I was listening to the NBA Network driving in this morning, right? Mm-hmm. And they're talking about LeBron going there. And remember a guy named Austin Carr played in the league?
Yeah.
He kept saying, it doesn't matter who you have. If they're not willing to share the ball,
that's so true,
then they can bring in whoever they want.
Yep.
And it's not going to be there. And he kept hitting the point over and over and over.
He's right. He's 100% right. If you don't share the ball, you get super easy to defend. And guys tend to pout. I'm not getting the ball. That guy's selfish. And then they don't rebound as hard and they don't defend as much. And everything falls apart.
Yeah. So that's what I want to see. The whole, how the pieces come together to make the whole is going to be fascinating. But what is going to be each individual, every player, what is his commitment to winning going to be? Because now I can argue certainly take Jaren Jackson out of the equation, but everybody else, and maybe arguably take Jaren Jackson out of the equation, but to me, certainly he's the only one. in my mind, everyone else has never played on a team with this much talent. Yeah. And so how are you going to make it mesh? And what are you going to do? Because it can't be statistically you get yours. If that's the mindset, I'm not saying it's anything close to it, but if anybody has a hint of that,
it wrecks everything.
That becomes a major problem. But if you're really committed to winning and it doesn't matter who is doing what as long as it's getting done, then I think this team has a high ceiling.
And that's why Keyonte talking about defense is so important, and that's why if you're looking for one stat, and the stats won't tell you everything, so it's not enough to just – but the one stat they have to be good at then, tell me about their rebounding. Because you can defend all you want. If you can't rebound, they're just going to get putbacks, and it's not going to matter. And if you get the rebound, now that's another possession. And for all the guys who want to score, tell me if you're going to have 80, 85, 90, or 95 possessions. How quickly do you get the ball back and get another possession, which is another shot, and depending on how you rebound, maybe two, for somebody to score and get the buckets they all crave. And if you have the ball, they can't score. It's pretty simple. You want to be a good defensive team, rebound. You'll have more possessions, and you won't be giving up these putbacks right at the rim. So how good a rebounding team is this going to be on top of everything else? And that's been a criticism of Jaren Jackson Jr. He hasn't been a great rebounder, but in this era of chasing down, missed three-pointers, everybody can be a great rebounder. There's you could be a 6'2" guard coming off the bench. You can still run down a missed three-pointer. Go get it. It's the days of you got to be 7 feet standing right at the rim and throw an elbow in clear space. There are rebounds like that. The one that we all remember from the NBA Finals that Mitchell Robinson got, that was an old school rebound in traffic. Go get it. But you still need to run down the missed three-pointer because Steph Curry could pick it up and hit a 20-footer off a long rebound pretty quick. Uh-huh. So you got to go get it. All right, top of the hour, Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio, Open Championship. We'll talk about that coming up at 9 o'clock. Stay with us right here on The Zone.
And now, a look at traffic from the KSL Traffic Center.
Two lanes are now open eastbound I-80 and Parley's Canyon. Traffic being a plateau with delays from 1300 East and Sugar House, reaching until a mile or so past the Quarry exit if you try to get towards Park City. Also, the I-215 eastbound also backed up. You'd be trying to use that as an alternate, so add some extra time if you're trying to get up into the mountains this morning. Looking for a new ride? Doug Smith offers great savings on new and used vehicles, big selection, great prices, and great people. Visit them in American Fork, Spanish Fork, Linden, or at heydoug.net. With your KSL traffic update, I'm Jay Catch right here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LaCombe.
Nobody cares about the score. Washington did beat the Jazz 92-88. AJ DeBonsa, his first game in Summer League, had some moments. Darren Peterson still put up the points, but not quite at the level and quite the efficiency that we saw in the two games in Salt Lake City. So everybody out there is like, oh, AJ won that head-to-head battle.
You've got to remove loyalty, which is hard to do. And I think in this case, there's a lot of people that are torn in this valley because, one guy, AJ, played here locally, and then obviously Darren being picked. So I just actually sat back like a coach would sit back, and I watched it. And I think what AJ showed is what AJ can do. Basically, on one end, AJ was kind of being AJ, and on the other end, Washington was hell-bent on not even letting him get a catch.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Join Scotty G and the Coach Tim LaCombe tomorrow from 10 to 2 at the Bar Dub Grill off exit 222 in Nephi. Earlier in the show, we had Jim Williams on, longtime sports media producer, director, and executive. He was talking about Major League Baseball. He was talking about the growth in the Utah sports market. It's a place he's been to. It's caught his eye.
Yeah, I've been there too.
Rankings thing. Yeah, you live there. Yeah. And he talked about Big Ten expansion down the line and said, keep your eye on ASU and Utah. And there's certainly the politics and the size of the media market in the Bay Area about Stanford and Cal. He's lukewarm on Cal, which I think many people are for a lot of reasons.
They don't add anything.
Their lack of commitment to sports is a major flaw, a major stumbling block.
I think you have a connection to them So they're important to you, but
no, they're not. They're not important to me.
Well,
they might be important to UCLA.
No,
I get it. They get brought up. They're in a major media market, but they're not committed to sports.
We already know that. I don't know why we're talking about it. I want to talk about ASU
He
or
said
most importantly,
Stanford.
Utah.
He said Stanford had a chance and turned it down.
Right. So
right.
They're dead.
He brought up ASU and Utah. I don't think 4 teams in the western half of the country is enough to make the Big Ten a national league. If that's truly what they aspire to, they could just aspire to be in a really.
So they want 6?
A really 6 or 8. You know, are they going to do divisions? How big are they going to get? Are they going to raid the SEC? Is that even possible? Would they do that?
Oh, boy, why would
Every
the
other
SEC
league
teams want to leave?
More money. Are they going to be worth more money?
More money is only more money. It's not more success.
But the money and the success are often linked. The richest teams tend to win more. They don't win it all.
I think that's very rare, though. I don't think it's often. I think it's rare. Most of the Big Ten doesn't win. It's the exception if you win, and it's the same teams when the money wasn't nearly as big that was bigger for them, so they have the brands. You have to have a brand. Money doesn't give you a brand. It just gives you money. So you got to be careful what you do. What did it do for some of these teams to join the Big Ten and get slaughtered each week?
So do the bigger brands in the SEC think they need more money? If they've already got the brand, did they think, hey, if we've got the brand, do we need more money? So there are options out for the Big Ten depending on what they want to do.
The world is their option.
But yes. But how badly do they want to grow in the West, and are ASU and Utah the teams?
I don't know.
I mean, I think if they throw out the feelers, there's at least 8 schools raising their hand. Pick me, pick me, pick me. And as Tom Homo said a long time ago, everybody knows. They know all the numbers, they know all the background. So you can say whatever you want, but they've pretty much done the homework.
BYU is dying to go to the Big Ten?
I don't think they want to be left behind if the Big Ten goes big. But there is a whole thing out there that the Big Ten won't raid the SEC, and that we'll just go from 4 to 3 teams, 4 to 3 leagues in the next decade. And in that case, the Big Ten maybe isn't picking anybody out here. And I think everybody else in the swing of the country would be in whatever the Big 12 ACC thing turns out to be.
You didn't answer it, but I don't think that BYU is dying to go to the Big 12. I mean, the Big Ten. Make the Big 12 as big and as attractive as you can. You are in a great situation. Go with that. Make that as good as it could possibly be. Hire the brightest people, whether it's your mark or whomever it is down the line, to blow up your deal and provide it with the resources that it needs, and away you go. And so they can't ignore you. And you won't be left behind.
That's basically been your Mark's point all along.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Too big to be ignored, and you guys aren't covering the whole country. And the fact that you grew up in Jersey and college sports isn't big in the Northeast, that's not just a PK rant during the show. That's something media executives and conference executives are well aware of. And so the danger of doing that to the West and leaving it behind, they got to include it some way, somehow. There's too many millions of homes and too much money to be made to ignore the western part of the U.S.
I didn't give a crap about college sports to the 80s.
And that's because you were in the West by then. And And you had teams. You'd been on campus. And
it was really when I moved to California, started working at the good old Daily Breeze.
And USC and UCLA.
Yeah, and all the guys in there, they had teams.
And I
got a team. I'm gonna pump, and then my second year, they freaking make the Rose Bowl.
That's right, your wheelhouse.
I know. It was on. Now I can taunt these guys?
I can taunt the entire room. I'm going to piss everybody off. And they can't say anything.
Right.
This is awesome, man.
And we were the little guys.
Yeah. Well, certainly in relation to them, absolutely. You're brand new to the league. You'd only been in 5 years, whatever it was.
This
7.
is fun.
Yeah.
And it was on from there.
So what does the West look like? And can they really get in? I think his point about all those Big Ten alumni down there, because the alumni, keeping them connected and getting money out of them is part of the magic. It's not just the media. It's not just the media rights.
That's one of the reasons I hate Ohio State is because they come to the Fiesta Bowl and it would just dominate the town.
Yeah, but they are coming from Ohio, but they're also coming from L.A., and they're also coming from Mesa and Tempe and Glendale and Phoenix and Scottsdale.
I understand. Yeah. You see it.
And it's over and over, too.
With the Cubs in spring training.
Yes. Yeah. There's so many Midwesterners.
It is a Cubs town in the month of March. If you want spring training tickets, the day they go on sale for the Cubs in January, whenever it is, you better get on there.
When I was in Sacramento and went down to spring training, the first time I was ever at spring training, and I did not understand the magic because I grew up in San Diego and the weather was always good, so it wasn't the magic it was to everybody else. And then I went down there, and Sacramento was cold and gloomy and foggy, and we went to a Cubs game to cover it, and I could not believe that place was sold out, packed. And it wasn't like a sellout, but there's all these empty seats because there's no shows. Butts were in seats. Mm-hmm. People were there wearing gear and fired up. The energy was great.
Yeah.
All right, DJ PK, when we come back, Brian Taylor, Real Golf Radio, next on the Open Championship. Stay with us. DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is time for the European portion of the sports calendar. We just had Wimbledon and the French Open. Now we've got the Open Championship.
This Open Championship update is presented by Copper Rock, where the pros play on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Brian Taylor and Bob Casper's appearances are brought to you by Mountain America Credit Union, Mountain Supply, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and Uinta Golf. Brian, good morning.
Good morning. I wore my special hat just for the Open Championship edition, just for you guys.
Nice.
Tip of the cap to you, PK.
Okay.
Royal Birkdale hosting the Open Championship. So I immediately think fog, wind, sideways rain, and then I click on the forecast, high 60s to low 70s. 10-mile-an-hour winds. Is that enough? And very little chance of rain. Is that enough to defend, for this course to defend itself? There's not a lot of trees and all that. Or is it now going to be wide open and guys are going low?
It's going to be a scorcher over there. Talked to our friend from the BBC, and he said it's just been an absolute heat wave over there, that it's pretty much burnt out. It's going to, I think, play a lot like Royal Liverpool in 2006 when Tiger went around there hitting all of his stinger iron shots, 350 yards, running down the fairway, that kind of thing. Although you don't have to necessarily hit it that long here this week at Birkdale. But, the rough was much thicker a couple weeks ago, and it's just kind of like burnt out a little bit from the dryness. So it's going to play that firm, fast kind of links style golf, but it's going to be more precision, less bomber. Listening to some of the player interviews and talking with our friend over at the BBC, sounds like, long irons off the tees, long irons into the greens, guys that are good long iron players, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, those are guys that are, certainly come to mind, are going to have a good week.
You said Royal Liverpool, and it reminds me of a story. I don't know that if I shared it with you, but I'm going to now, and I want to see if you can top it as far as playing with somebody. So I told this story a few weeks back. I think it was first part of June. I'd gone to a wedding reception, and this guy recognizes me, the PK thing, so he wants to talk to me. He tells me it was several years back, and he's playing in Orlando, and the sun is going down, right? So he's got his wife with him, and there was two guys ahead of him, and the two guys say, hey, why don't you join up with us? This way you'll be able to finish. So he says, yeah. So they meet up 14 or 15, whatever it is, and they introduce each other, right? And one guy who invited this couple to play that live here in Utah that I saw at the wedding reception, they introduce themselves, and the wedding reception guy says to the other guy, where are you from? The guy says, I'm from Liverpool. And he introduces himself and says, what's your name? He says, I'm Paul from Liverpool.
Is that his radio name?
No, that is his real name, and his last name, you may have heard of it. It's Paul from Liverpool, England, obviously. And his last name, true story here, according to this guy, which I have no reason why he would lie to me, that his last name was and is McCartney. So he played the last few holes in Orlando with a guy named Paul McCartney from Liverpool, England. And yes, it was that Paul.
Really?
Yes. According to this guy, told me this story, and his wife was there, and his wife was this sweet, young-looking gal, innocent, the kind that, we know the state of Utah produces, if you get my drift. And I was floored. I said, I'll never be able to top that story, ever, for the rest of my life. Jay Drew told me a story. He said, oh, that really beats my story. I think he was at U.S. Open, was at Pebble or something. You would know this better than I would, that there was a van that was going to take them from the clubhouse over to the 10th tee. It's apparently a decent walk. And he gets to go on the van, and the guy says, oh, this is just for the players. And so he steps back. Well, there's one guy on the van, in the van, says, oh, no, you can bring him on. And it's Fowler. And Fowler says, bring him on, and we'll drive over. And so he has a little conversation with Fowler. And Jay tells me, yeah, that tops my story. And yes, you played several holes with Paul McCartney. That has got to be unbelievable. And I'm thinking even Brian Taylor and Bobby Casper, they can't top that story.
That's a pretty good story. I mean, Paul McCartney, that's got to be like and you were invited by Paul McCartney to play golf. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't from the get-go, but
right. Oh yeah.
Okay, Brian, you got to think about this. You've played late in the day, and some people are better at golf etiquette as far as letting groups play through or letting groups join up, and some people aren't as good at the golf etiquette. So you'd be in that situation. You'd be thinking in a tourist town like Orlando, I wonder if these people golf a lot, if they know, are we going to finish our round? That's your primary consideration. And then the group waves you up, and you're like, whoa. And when you walk up, as you walk up, you suddenly realize that you're walking up to join a Beatle. I mean, there's a... Come on.
That's pretty good. I don't know if I could top that one. I mean, had a lot of really cool golf experience, but
you'd have to get waved up by Tiger Woods to join Tiger and Charlie. I mean, come on, who could wave you up that has that kind of worldwide fame?
Yeah, the wave up, that's pretty good. As far as wave up stories go, I think that one might top the list. I mean, Paul McCartney, I don't even know, like in my generation, is there anybody that would even that could even stand up to Paul McCartney?
Everyone I want to throw out there as that big a star is now dead. Like, who's a 60-year-old, the 80s? I mean, Jagger would wave you up, I guess.
I think it would have to be Jesus.
I mean, if you got waved up by Brad Pitt, that would be great, but I don't think it tops McCartney.
No.
And Pitt's a pretty big star.
I should have a good story to come back to this one, but you got me on that.
I figured. I mean, I told the guy.
I mean, the only
story.
The only one that comes to mind is I got invited. I was at Pebble Beach covering the AT&T one year, and we got invited to go play Tahama Country Club, whatever. It's just Clint Eastwood's place that's up on the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And as we played like the third or fourth hole, the guy that we're playing with, who's a member, says, "We're just going to wait right here. Clint's coming through." And so which is the rule. If Clint comes, you just let him play through. And so we sat there. I'm like, well, this is very exciting. So we sat there, and Clint drove through, and he thanked us for letting him go. And he went up in his tee shot, and away he went. So that was probably, I don't know, maybe the only celebrity kind of similar type thing.
That's a really good one, Brian. And yet it doesn't match McCartney. And it's really good.
No.
It tops Fowler. No. Take Clint Eastwood over Fowler, and Fowler's a great story.
My neighbor, who is a golf pro, that's a fact. He's since moved, but he still is a golf pro, and he's what's the one that has the 3 nines out on the west side? Stonebridge, yeah. And so he was up at Glen Wild, and that it was understood that if Jordan was there, that he play through. And my neighbor, this golf pro, was in the fairway, and a ball comes shooting by between he and his partner, and down comes a guy in a cart, and it's MJ. and he just drives right on through. He doesn't
Didn't even ask.
No, according to my neighbor, and I have no doubt, no reason to doubt him. Yeah, and that was understood at Glen Wild that when and the members, I was there. I've played it, and it was understood that you didn't talk to him. So if you saw him on the grounds, you just let him go. He wasn't there to socialize. So that was kind of a little bit of your Clint Eastwood thing. Now, I didn't experience that. You saw it yourself. But my neighbor, who I believe him, told me that story. And I think that kind of – that's at least ballpark. But still, Paul takes the cake.
Right. All right, as far as Royal Birkdale there, Scheffler just missed a cut. The streak is broken. Does that mean he's playing bad golf? Was he just unfortunate and he could still win this week? Would you wave off picking Scheffler this week? What do you think of Scotty's chances?
He's done. He's done. His window's closed. So he's finished. He's washed up. Yeah, I mean, you can't miss cuts at the Scottish Open and still claim to be the best player in the world, right? Right, PK?
Yeah, right.
Come on, back me up on this.
There's no question about it. He's a has-been. But then I got McIlroy saying that he's bad at golf.
Yeah. He said that to himself and yelled it out loud how bad he is, right? Let me say this. Golf is to make 78 consecutive cuts at the highest level. It's not anything near what Tiger Woods did. It's not Byron Nelson, but it is unbelievable in today's day and age. It's just so hard to do. That shows the consistency in which Scotty has been playing at. I'm fascinated with golfers' windows. We've had this conversation over the years, but I'm fascinated. And Jordan Spieth is front and center this week because he was the last to win here in 2017. And so you start looking at where he has gone, and then you look at what Scheffler's been doing, and all of the windows that have sort of been there in the meantime. I mean, look at what Rory did, and then his window opened up again. And then you look at Brooks Koepka and Bryson, and there's all these players that look unbeatable for a period of time. And it's how long will that window stay open? And it always harkens back to the incredible run that Tiger Woods had. And even going back in the generations in Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and some of these guys where they were able to compete at a high level and win prolifically for, generations, for decades, if you will. And so when Tiger had a decade, that's a long time. And he was dominating for a decade. And some of these guys, their window lasts a year. Some of them it's 3 or 4. Some of them it's 8. But so Scotty Scheffler, I don't think the window. So to that, using that as the context, I don't think his window is ready to close. I think a missed cut isn't something that you would say, let's judge Scotty's game. What you would judge Scotty's game is the fact that he opens up with a 63 in his first round at Amex and goes on to win shooting 30-something under in his first event. And then he has a slew of runner-up finishes and hasn't won since. I mean, that's kind of where you go, that's odd for a guy that's been winning 5, 6, 7 times a year the last few years. Having said that, it adds to his great play. He's still leading the tour in strokes gained, scoring average, and all of the major statistics. So it's hard to say that he's having an off year. He just isn't getting the dubs that he had last year. I wouldn't count him out. He's looking to become the first to go back-to-back at the Open Championship since Padraig Harrington did it in 2008 right here at Royal Birkdale. So I love it when stats combine, and we'll see what happens there. But I think Scotty's hungry. A missed cut might have been just what he needed. Some of his comments in his presser this week was talking about being recorded all the time and the pressure that comes along with that. And sometimes you just need to get out of the spotlight a little bit and be able to have some room to breathe. And so it's hard. It's not easy being the top guy all the time with all the attention. And a lot of guys haven't been able to do it for as long as Scotty has. And maybe it's getting to him a little bit. Maybe a missed cut is just what he needed.
I can relate to that specifically because when it comes to picking guys winning, I'm the top guy. And having the attention on me all the time, when I pick last every year, I mean, the burden every time, 4 times a year, to follow up on it like I just did at the U.S. with Wyndham Clark. I can relate to Scotty, is what you're saying.
Wait. You picked Wyndham Clark to win the U.S. Open?
Mm-hmm. He did.
Which pick? 1, 2, or 3?
3, the 9th pick.
That's still pretty good, though. That's a good 9th pick. I'll give it to you. Yeah. I'm not in on your picks, so you know what? I'll give you a golf clap for that. That's a good one, PK.
And I feel bad for Bob because he came from a golf family, and he just can't compete with me.
Oh, my.
Can you imagine that?
This seems like a good time to talk about this being the 50th.
It's not a good time to talk about it. He went away. He's on a computer. For those of you who are streaming, you know this, and there's now a black screen in the middle third. I'm on one side, you're on the other, and he vaporized. He's gone.
Well, if
time.
it wasn't going to be a good time to talk about me, the computer gods didn't want to hear it.
That was it. Now back to PK. PK, tell us more about your greatness.
Well, you just go with it and you think about it and you ponder it and you do research. And you got to make sure the analytics match up with your gut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then once you do, you say, well, what the heck? I'll pick Wyndham Clark. And then it happens, and then you taunt the other guys. This is 1986 all over again, when the Devils went to the Rose Bowl and I was living in California. And I had just moved there. And who is this outsider coming in here taunting us? But go ahead, Brian.
Brian, that was not
Sorry about
perfect
that.
time. Yeah, okay.
That was perfect timing for a phone call to interrupt our anyway.
Okay.
So Johnny Miller 50 years ago won at Royal Birkdale. He beat a 19-year-old Seve Ballesteros and Jack Nicklaus. Raymond Floyd was the reigning Masters champion. He was right there in contention with others. Really good stuff. By the way, if you want to go back and watch, the RNA has the video that you can watch from the 76 Open, which is pretty cool. And to watch these guys out there, and you could tell that Seve was going to be a star at 19, right? He still had all those shots. But the reason why it's a good time to talk about it, first of all, to honor Johnny, which is awesome. 25 wins, I think, on the PGA Tour, the U.S. Open, and the Open Championship. I mean, that's awesome. What a career. And then the broadcasting and all that. But in his acceptance speech of the Claret Jug afterwards, which they always do in front of the people with the microphone, this is so PK, so Johnny. I can't even, it just is so funny. But he stands up and he says, I would like to congratulate Seve and Jack on their runner-up finish. Sorry, that was, and then he doubles down and he says, and I'd like to thank the rest of the field for making it so easy on me. I mean, if there wasn't a more Johnny Miller thing said, I don't know where you're going to find it. But first of all, Seve probably really appreciated a star like Johnny recognizing him as a 19-year-old. But Jack, do you think Jack wanted to be congratulated on his runner-up finish in a major at that point in his career? I don't think so.
All right, I got a Johnny Miller little story. So I go down to the Phoenix Open and Waste Management, and that was Johnny's last broadcast on that Friday. Do you remember?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
So I went down there, and I got a press pass, and so I go to his press conference, and I talk to him afterward, and he says, "Oh man, I really like listening to you when I'm in town." He says, "You remind me of me."
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
He literally said that to me, and I've told you this, Brian, that Johnny Miller was my golf hero growing up, and so that was for him to say that. It was funny, and it was cool, and we did talk a little bit. He had a little formal press conference, and then afterward, because I asked him a question, and you had to introduce yourself. And when I did, he says, "Oh yeah, I listened." So I went up to him afterward. But I thought, and then you bring that up, you connect us, and Johnny connected us himself.
Well, I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, I took it as a compliment. Yeah. And obviously, as a golfer, he was awesome, and as an analyst, he was awesome too.
He was the best. Honestly, I miss Johnny on the call.
I agree.
I love Kevin Kisner. He's great, right? You think about Faldo, what he did for a long time. There's been good analysts, but none like Johnny.
Right,
and
it's like the guy who tried to
people
follow Vin Scully. I mean, I'm sure he's good, but he's not Vin Scully.
Right. And there's a lot of people that didn't like Johnny because he would, like PK, likes to weave himself into the story a little bit and that kind of thing. But it compels you to watch. It compels you to listen. And I just, and here's the thing. His book was called I Call the Shots. he did call the shots, and sometimes it made him look silly because he would say, "Hey, this one, you could choke on this shot right here," and people would be like, "Oh, Johnny, why'd you say that?" And then the guy would, or he'd pull it off, and then Johnny would say, like people would say, "See, Johnny, he didn't choke." But I think from a viewer standpoint, and for those that know that have been in those situations, when he's pointing that out and then the pro pulls the shot off, I think it's more of a compliment to the shot he just hit because he set it up as being more difficult than it was. And so, or he set up the scene of what could actually be going on inside. And when someone's able to overcome that and execute the shots under pressure, look, Johnny dealt with pressure as much as anybody. In fact, it kind of ended his career. The putter just wouldn't cooperate at the end of his career, and he just couldn't make the putts, couldn't make the pressure putts, and that happens. It happens to everybody. And so he understands pressure and choking and all that kind of stuff, and he would point that out, and it's a real thing. Yeah, for the everyman, for those of us like me that play country club golf and don't compete on a regular basis, and all of a sudden you go out for one weekend, and like we did at our senior club champ last weekend, and you start feeling it, and you get nervous, and you make a bogey, and you can't stop it, and you make 2 double bogeys to follow, and you go, "Holy cow, what the heck just happened here?" Like literally, what happened? How come my hands feel all weird? How come my mind's racing? How come I can't even, I went from hitting it great to not even knowing how to play this game. It's it's a different deal altogether. And so for those that play regular tournament golf, they feel it, they love it, they thrive on it. And one of the coolest things is that when you start to feel those feels and you can actually execute and perform in the middle of it, that's a really cool feeling. And these guys do it at a completely different level than what we do for those of us that are listening right now and talking right now. So Johnny was great. I loved his calls. I didn't get a chance to watch him play golf. I was too young at the time, but it was cool to go back. I highly recommend go to the Open Championship, go to the RNA, or just go to YouTube and search 1976 Open. And Peter Allis is the commentator. He's fantastic. Just one of the all-time greats, and it's a cool watch.
You talk about playing the game at different levels. There are many of us who are petrified if we have to tee off in front of 10 people. The thought that there would be 10,000 people lining both sides of the fairway and 10 million people on TV, and the fact that we might kill one of those 10,000 people when we spray a drive all the places we spray them, it is not the same thing. It's not remotely the same thing.
No, and I was one of my first Masters that I went to see Sam Snead hit the ceremonial opening tee shot. And Sam was in his 80s, right, or something. It was close to 80 if he wasn't in his 80s, and he just sniped it right in and just right through the glasses of a spectator, about 50 yards down the fairway. And, he felt terrible. That was his last one. And the guy, first of all, if you are in those situations, don't lean your head in looking straight down the barrel of a guy that's about to tee off, But yeah, it happens. People hit people, players hit people all the time, but yeah, it's a cool thing to watch these guys perform, and the way that they have to just get so callous. Sometimes we knock these guys as being calloused as professionals, but they have to somewhat be calloused, because if you're as emotional as we get about making a birdie, or as emotional as we get or down on ourselves for making a bogey, it just wears you out. And every once in a while it comes out, like you pointed out, PK. You see Rory yell at himself, "You're so bad at golf." Well, you know what? Sometimes that it just spills over. Sometimes it goes into Sergio mode, and that's unfortunate. Sometimes it goes into Wyndham Clark mode, and that's unfortunate. But for the most of the time, these guys hold their decorum pretty well, and they're a pretty pressure-packed sport. So,
Brian, we'll leave it right there. We'll draft with Bob, and then we'll talk to you again as the tournament gets underway on Thursday, and you can judge all our draft picks.
Take Matt Fitzpatrick. He's my pick this week. I like him.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you, boys.
All right, DJ and PK. I wonder if we can take Matt Fitzpatrick. Ooh, I can't. I've already drafted him this year.
I can't.
Yeah, you've picked him also. So, Bob also took him. Matt Fitzpatrick is off the board. None of us can draft him. We only draft him once a year.
But I drafted him when he won the U.S. Open.
All right. DJ and PK will come back with everything you missed in this show next. Stay with us.
Give away a golfer, too.
Oh, you want to give away a golfer?
Yeah.
The Copper Rock Open Championship giveaway. Caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. Will be assigned a golfer in the Open Championship this week. Top 25 or the field. The winner will win a Copper Rock branded polo, an outerwear piece, a hat, and a $100 gas gift card. Brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play.
Turn it up. Let's go.
It's a new era for sports radio in Utah. This is the all-new KSL Sports Zone. As always, DJ and PK kick off your mornings from 6 to 10. Then introducing the newest addition to the KSL Sports Zone. The coach, Tim Lacombe, joins Scotty G every day from 10 to 2. And as you wrap up your day, Jake Scott and Ben Anderson are there with the best sports talk in Utah from 2 to 6. Live and local, all day, every day. Your home for the best sports radio in Utah is live, on air, online, and on the KSL Sports app. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Slacker Radio headlines are brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today. Your local, trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 1-855-TRAJAN-1 or visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. DJ PK. A lot of topics this morning to hit. One of them, Keyonte George, says the Jazz fans are going to be shocked at how good the defense is going to be next year. Shocked, PK. Jazz defense is going to shock people.
It's better than shellacked.
What does it take to shock you, I guess?
Top 10.
Top third. All right. Get top 10, be top third of the league.
Yeah, with that offense, top 10 defense equals set the bar at 50. And if you have 50,
I thought this was a 50-win team with Kessler for sure. Now, without Kessler, I got to admit I'm waffling on the 50.
That's fine.
And it does depend on, how things break. You catch enough teams when they're shorthanded, that can get a lot easier.
Yeah, but
top 10
I don't think it's
defense,
going to make a difference in the quality of your team. You're not going to get that many breaks.
Top 10 defense gives you a chance to win a playoff series if they can really make it that far. Because offensively, they figure to be gifted. You got a half dozen guys who can score.
I wouldn't see why they're not.
They've got 3 guys who I think definitely should be good defenders and in the rotation. And then they got 3 guys who need to improve as defenders. Well, and they got a couple guys I'm not sure who will be in the rotation.
Can use team
very
defensive
nice
concepts, and particularly if your best defenders are out on the perimeter. And that's where the game is played these days.
Mm-hmm. And if the other team has a guy who's more defensive-oriented, then you could say maybe you put Markkanen on him because you got Ace Bailey and Peterson out there who can really go after guys.
Sure. Yeah, matchups matter. And the nightmare matchups that you're going to cause, maybe your offense can help your defense, meaning, okay, they've got so many prolific offensive talents out on the floor that we need to put more of a defensive lineup out there. And then on the other end, they're not as good as offensively, so that's going to help your defense.
And that is why they have phrases like complementary basketball and complementary football. And that's why analytics don't work as well for these sports as they do for baseball, when there's more isolated events. Basketball, everything's tied together. And the thing that comes next and the thing that just happened both influence what's going on right now.
Well, in baseball, an analytic can factor into literally every pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know in basketball or
that
football,
you can do that.
Every single play.
Right.
It just happens too fast.
It happens too fast, and everything's impacted by what's coming before and after, and there's more of a one-on-one battle with a pitcher and a batter.
Where the ball comes off the rim and all that stuff.
And it lends itself to that.
Right. So they have an opportunity to cause some nightmare matchups offensively. The anticipation for an excellent season, I don't think is quite there, but I'm not going to rule it out.
Not ruling out 50, not ruling out a playoff win.
I would say not ruling out 55.
A playoff series win. Ooh, 55. Things really have to go well.
Who's to say they can't drive 55?
I can't drive. Sing it, Yak.
It's more, I can't. You got to emphasize. I mean, you went, I can't drive. You went too quick.
55.
Right. You have that emphasis on the 55. You got it well. But I'll work
on my Sammy.
Lead up to it. There's emphasis along the way.
I'll work on my Sammy. Get back to it later this week.
So there's possibilities, yeah. To what level? Maybe that's up in the night. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to rule it out.
That's a top shelf best case scenario, but you don't rule it out. Maintain hope. Don't want to take your hope away in July.
Well, but I think it's at least a shred of realistic hope, and maybe there's more. He can drive 55. Let's have the Jazz drive 55. Drive to 55. Right. Now,
55 wins would be good.
Yeah, I would think that maybe you might get Will Hardy, but other than that, there ain't too many of those guys on that team who've heard of Sammy Hagar.
You're right.
We can't even guarantee that Will Hardy has.
I said maybe.
He's younger than I am, and I'm...
Right. I said maybe.
Yeah, but that's a lot of time to listen to a lot of music, and Sammy Hagar's a pretty big name.
But I know Jay-Z...
It is a maybe, but I'd take yes over no.
And D.A., they're headbangers when it came to Van Halen.
Headbangers.
Yeah.
He ain't driving down the road, biting on the lip.
Yeah.
Boom, boom.
Yeah. When I was at NAU, I worked security for concerts, and Sammy Hagar did perform. And at least twice, he kept referring to the crowd as Tucson. And we're in Flagstaff.
Are we surprised, though?
Missed it by that much.
I think he might have been a little toasted.
A little. About 100 miles off?
It was Sammy and Boston. Nice. Were the two groups.
We had Jim Williams on earlier in the show. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. Longtime sports media producer, director, and executive. Very bullish on Salt Lake's sports future. Aggressive in marketing sports, turning out to games. Put him on the long list of people who think Major League Baseball's coming to town in a few years. Wants to come out and watch a ball game with us.
There's two things that are coming to town, Santa Claus and baseball. In fact, I would say they're the same.
They're not the same.
For me, they would be.
Cecil Fielder always had the Santa Claus physique. Who has the Santa Claus physique now? Is baseball in better shape now?
I think you'll get it.
Eventually. But I won't be in the big leagues. Who in the big leagues has the Santa Claus physique?
Well, Cologne is out of the league.
Bartolo.
Yeah.
We had the Panda Bear for a little while there.
Oh, yeah, that guy from San Francisco. Yeah, what was his name?
I know it was the Panda Bear.
I know.
But you're right. Like, the round body is not really a...
No, the league's getting... the MLB's getting more athletic.
Well, they changed the rules with the emphasis to put that out there.
Pablo Sandoval.
Yeah.
Panda Bear. All-Star game tonight. Home run derby goes to Jordan Walker. Youngster on the rise, 24 years old. At the age of 23, he was going up and down to the minor leagues. 24, he's in the All-Star game, and he's more than doubling his salary with the bonus he gets for winning home run derby. Good for him.
Yeah, that's why his parents were going nuts.
Outslug Kyle Schwarber in Philly.
I didn't really care who won, but it would have been cool to see Schwarber win in the home crowd and the Philly people going nuts. Baseball, it's in the hearts of people. The place is packed to see lob pitches being hit over the fence.
Mm-hmm.
Name me a sport. I'm not sure you can have that. But the romanticism of baseball on a summer night, it's uncomparable or incomparable, unparalleled. And yet these dopes are going to take it away from us.
Yes. And I read a story yesterday with because they had all the All-Stars there. They're asking All-Stars their thoughts on labor. And it was guys
who
they're
going to give you the canned answers.
Yeah, they've either been paid or they want to get paid. They're about to, and they don't want to change. And everything just screamed, there's no way they're playing 162 games.
Except it's those guys won't decide because they can afford it. It's the guys on the other end.
The rank and file.
The guys who are here today, gone tomorrow.
If the minimum goes high enough, will they vote for it? I mean, if the owners really want this to happen, they just raise the minimum to $2 million, and a bunch of players will vote yes, and then you have less money to play stars with, but oh well.
Right, so you got to settle for $400 instead of $500.
Yeah.
How do you get by?
So if the owners are going to do it, then just hurry up and do it now, and then we could have spring training in 162 games.
Well, but there's got to be pressure applied. It's just the way they all work. It
because
has to be.
the owners don't really want to give everybody $2 million.
Oh, they want to. Here's the deal with every contract negotiation.
They want the most.
You want to get the most from your employer, and they want to give you the least. That'll never change.
Well, then make other plans for spring training, and they'll lop off the first 30 games of the season.
Great.
If I offered you that right now, would you take it?
Yeah.
I mean, you want all 162,
yes.
but you're so afraid you're going to end up with 80 or 50 or nothing.
Right. But that's who I am when it comes to my sports.
You take 130.
Yeah. Like, give me 9 wins for the Devils today. I'll take it.
If you miss 30 games, you'll have the Jazz in the playoffs, and you'll be watching NBA playoffs, and you just have to do without April.
Oh, well, I'm going to go down to Phoenix in March, and then I can play golf at more reasonable prices.
That's a true story. Less of the tourists in there jamming the thing up.
Yeah. Right.
All those Cubs fans showing up.
Sure.
All-Star game tonight. 5 o'clock for the show, 6 o'clock for the first pitch.
This is when you don't want to live in Phoenix. This was yesterday.
Oh, boy. Dust blowing in off the desert. A haboob?
They did have 2 in a row.
Ooh. Wow.
It's been nasty down there.
In
Tucson and Phoenix the last
So
several days.
when your sisters see this coming, why don't they just come up and visit you or go or drive to L.A. or San Diego?
Well, my sister one is in Carlsbad right now.
There we go. Okay. All right. Nice. Good plan.
Because when it was at 109 Sunday, she's a huge Diamondbacks fan, and I texted her. I said, "Wow, man, the Diamondbacks just swept the Dodgers," which I knew she knew. It's as hot as Salt Lake's weather, which set a record for 109. And she says, "Oh, I'm in Carlsbad. It was 72." And we went to the game, San Diego on Thursday or whatever, and the Diamondbacks won. Whatever day they just split a series last week, and she was there for one of the two. And she's gone to Reno to see the AAA. She can brief you on the prospects coming up.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah. So miss that. I'm gone. I don't think I'll ever live in the Southeast, but if I lived in the path of some hurricane, I wouldn't be one of those people you see, we're boarding up the house. I've decided to ride it out. I'd be the person you see at the airport 2 days earlier. I'm going to wherever.
You just stay inside, obviously, and they don't last that long, relatively speaking, but they do cause a lot of damage, and as my good friend would say, havoc.
Anything else you want to tell the people? Jazz won a Summer League game, but since Cody Williams and Ace Bailey sat, and most importantly, Darren Peterson sat, so what? Caleb Wilson did go 19 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks for Chicago in the 80-63 loss.
Yeah, he should have been drafted second.
Save that for the start of the show. Don't throw that out there at the end of the show.
We'll see.
All right.
I don't think the Jazz will regret Peterson.
World Cup semis at 1 o'clock today and tomorrow. France and Spain today, Argentina and England tomorrow. Plenty of sports here in the middle of the summer. Got a couple of semifinals in the World Cup straight into the Open Championship.
Oh, and hey, they've settled. Fox is back on direct.
Nice.
Yes.
Good, because that's where the game is tonight. Fox has the All-Star game. So flip it on. You're good to go.
I didn't even think of that, but I would have been irritated beyond belief.
Yeah.
If that were the case.
All-Star game tonight?
But you're right. Yes, they sent out a thing. I got a notice on my phone the other day.
So I still have Comcast, and they haven't had the NFL Network forever, which is fine. But preseason games, people like the preseason football.
They don't have the NFL Network?
It's they're in a dispute right now. They got a graphic on the screen forever, which this time of year doesn't really matter to me. I think I only found out about it because on draft night I was flipping around a couple months ago. It seems like it's been going on forever. Maybe I found out about it another time. But when I channel surf through and I'm in the middle of a game.
Where am I going to get my Kurt Warner analysis?
See? On DirecTV. They probably still have it.
They do.
It's just a Comcast thing.
Yeah, it's like 210.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Your feedback is next. Stay with us. DJ PK, it is time for your feedback. What do you have to say about today's show? Keyonte George says the quality of Jazz defense will shock people. Do you believe it? Jason, if they even attempt to play defense, it'd shock me.
That's a little strong.
Well, you got two things there. One, people are just sick of 4 years of tanking, and Jason's probably in the group. And number two, I'll believe it when I see it. These guys they got talent, they want to score, but, defense in the NBA can come and go, and Jason's watched for a while. And,
I understand that, but I believe that these kids, these guys, these players, this team knows the time is now.
For a lot of reasons, that's true. They're sick of losing, and they've mostly won in their careers. They've never lost like this. So they're ready to win. They feel like they got a glimpse of it last year, briefly, when Jaren Jackson Jr. was allowed to play. And then as soon as we saw what that could be, boom, he's got to have surgery. And other guys started sitting too. So I think they're chomping at the bit.
Glad they did.
Yeah, they're chomping at the bit.
They're chomping for the championship.
Travis, I believe we'll be making the playoffs. This team is united. It's going to be 2017. We're going to shock the world. That's who's going to be shocked. It's the world. Again, Travis is on board. He has none of Jason's cynicism. 2 comments there. Completely opposite viewpoints.
Now, one's a pessimistic fan, one's an optimistic fan. And then they have them in every fan base.
Also, Congress is voting on making daylight savings time permanent. What is your choice? Dennis. Dennis says, DJ, I don't have time for that. I'm only thinking about the Utah Jazz right now. Well, Ryan Smith thanks you. Stay focused. And should your focus waver, just have it waver to the Mammoth. That's it. No further.
Yeah, he's got you coming and going.
Shane. We're not buying Shane. Shane doesn't think Congress is going to do anything. I think Congress is tanking right now.
Well, nice. I read that they said that they were going to be voting.
Yeah, that was nice tying into the Jazz
tanking. I don't pay a
tanking.
whole lot of attention, but I saw it. No, I got you. I understand.
That's good. That was well done.
Yeah, I got it.
Lauren, I think it's much ado about nothing. Somehow change the clock by an hour is more than a detrimental effect than staying up all night. Ridiculous.
But I think it's a major change if they do it.
It is a major change. And Vernon says one or the other. Just decide. And then, all caps, leave it alone. Yeah, but it feels, I don't know, sounds like it's going to be a close vote. And so then whatever happens, people just complain about it, and then it could be up for a vote again. Apparently, they did this in the 70s, and PK and I can't remember it. But it only lasted a year, and then they changed it back. And I don't even know if they did it on a statewide basis, so that's why we didn't know about it because we weren't here, or if it was nationwide and we just didn't know.
If I lived in Arizona, depending on when it was, towards the end of the decade, then I wouldn't have done it anyway.
Right. That might be if you were in Arizona and you didn't realize it because there was no change to you.
Right.
It just changed the other 49 states.
Yeah.
Apparently Arizona does it already because it's so cool in the mornings in the summer.
You do not need an extra hour.
Yeah, you don't need
an
extra hour. You don't need the extra hour of daylight. You do need the extra hour of cool. Mm-hmm. So Arizona's motivation is totally different. They're living in a desert nobody else is living in.
Right, yeah.
I did not know the logic behind it. I just read that. Like you, I saw a story about it and clicked on it yesterday, prepping for the show. And what's
well,
this?
I know why Arizona didn't do it. The last thing they needed is the sun up to be at 9 o'clock at night. It's just too hot.
Right.
It's too hot as it is then.
Yeah.
Without the haboobs.
Tyson. Only crazy people and vampires like it getting dark at 3:30. This is long overdue.
I would like to give it a try, and then if you don't like it, you can go back.
Devin. Oh, just like always. They're trying to fix something, and they're going to screw it up. Devin.
I don't necessarily have a lot of faith in those types of folks. They seem to be worried about arguing.
So here's another one.
Stuff.
Alan said, we tried this once in 1974. It didn't work. It immediately was changed back. We do not learn from history.
I would have been just in 74 too young to care.
Somebody else, somebody said 74 and somebody said 76, but I'm with you. It is too young and, yeah. It was busy playing workups and that's it. Going to recess. All right. We're all done. Coming up next, it's Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe. Stay with us.